right, everybody. Welcome. How are you doing? I want to say in advance, this live stream is for mature audiences only, so viewer discretion is advised. Uh, and how are you doing, David?
I'm pretty good. We're just getting back from the Monster Truck and Tractor Rally. Yee-hoo! Saw Truckosaurus versus Fordzilla.
Oh yeah. Well, that goes beyond my skills. I can't talk like that, so I will just drop it here right now. But thanks everybody and welcome, and thanks for joining us on America's most watched live broadcast, at least on this channel. And today we have a very special show that will be very, very friendly and good. What do you think, David?
I think that's going to be the greatest live stream ever.
Oh, absolutely. 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 God bless America. And with that said, so what do we want to talk about, David?
We there is a famous clip from Muhammad Hijab that we've shared and which we've shared widely. And when I initially shared it a long time ago, I pointed out that Hijab's position in this video was not that it's okay to have sex with a 5-year-old. But he was saying to people who just believe in the Quran only Muslims, that if you just go with the Quran, you would assume that you can have sex with a 5-year-old. And so his point is you have to go outside the Quran to learn that that is a bad idea. So I pointed that out, but people have circulated, people running around saying that, Hijab says it's okay to have sex with a 5-year-old. No, he's saying you would conclude that if you just go with the Quran. But we wanted to have an actual video where we go through the entire clip so that people can't say we're taking things out of context or distorting what he says. And what's important is he doesn't just stop there. He also goes on to the topic of wife beating and makes claims about what you would conclude if you just went with the Quran on the topic of wife beating. And that's every bit as horrifying as what he says about the Quran allowing sex with 5-year-olds and concluding that it would be halal for a Quran only Muslim to have sex with a 5-year-old. So anyway, we want to be fair and look at all of this in context, because much like going to the Muslim sources, it's actually worse when you read it in context, ladies and gentlemen. And it's the same thing for watching a video of a hijab here.
Fantastic. Yes, I believe you have just summarized what we are going to do. I wasn't paying attention because I was reading the chat.
Just trust me, I crushed it.
I trust you. With that out of the way, so today we want to look at that video that we are talking about that David just summarized. I believe, as far as I trust him, I really need to get rid of this hat. It feels very uncomfortable right now. All right.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys.
Oh, now I have a thing on my forehead, just like those heavy Muslims when they...
what is it? Zabiba? I forget.
When they go down on the ground.
Yeah, there's a name for it. I think it's something like Zabiba or something.
I don't even know the name. That sounded like hallelujah. I don't even know that.
When you totally know when they got like a big one, you totally know it's deliberate, right? Like these guys are like,
of course,
banging their head on the floor. They're like, you see.
I was part of a religious community where that was considered undesirable and actually kind of a shamelessly inappropriate act. We were not supposed to do that, and we were often given the examples of certain Muslim movements like the Salafis, the Wahhabis, who tend to do such things very very deliberately, who try to show off how pious they are and how much they devote themselves to worship, that they rub their foreheads on the ground, on the thing, and get these idiotic marks on their forehead.
And it's interesting because, again, I just pointed out in my recent Ramadan video, these are people who claim to follow Jesus. And he has this entire section in the Sermon on the Mount where he condemns fasting that's meant to be seen by others. And then you've got of course, that's all of Ramadan is one big fast that's meant to be seen by others, like the entire world. You have to let them know. But right before that, he has the section on prayer and wanting people to know that you pray so that they can see how holy and righteous you are. And so Muslims claim to follow that guy, Jesus, and they're literally banging their heads on the ground so that even when they're not praying, they're walking around. You're like, oh, that guy's so faithful. Look at how much he prays. He's got this big this big bruise, this constant bruise on his
This beautiful bruise. Look at that.
You're so holy.
But you're being very unreasonable, David. If they don't have that bruise up there, how will Allah know that they are praying a lot?
Correct. I stand corrected.
Yeah, you stand correctly, of course, as always. So, yeah. With that said, God,
so just so everyone knows the context here, Muhammad Hijab encounters some Quran-only Muslims at Speaker's Corner, and he's going to tell them why Quran-only Islam is so bad. And then this is what happens.
You're explaining the context here as if we're taking things out of context and being Islamophobic, whatever. So terrible.
And this is going to sound quite scary for you right now.
Yeah.
This is, I don't know why it autoplays immediately, but is there a specific part that you wanted to go to before we just jump into it? Or?
No, just got to go through the whole thing, man. There's two main sections. Hijab saying that if you just go with the Quran, you would conclude that you can have sex with a 5-year-old. And then the second part, all in the same video though, but then he gets to claiming that, well, you'll see what he claims about wife beating.
Yeah.
The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran whatsoever. It's found in the Sunnah, and in fact, if you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. And I'll tell you why. And I'll give.
If you just read the Quran, you would get. He says you get the indication, right? Like it's not just. He says the takeaway message, if you just go with the Quran, is you can have sex with a 5-year-old. And when he says that, Muslims all, alhamdulillah, great point. When we say, oh, how dare you say that, you liars, you see, the Islamophobes.
So this would be a good answer to the question whether the Quran is dangerous or not, which is why I titled the stream like that anyway, where you could argue that the Quran is a dangerous book to read and to follow, because if you just read the book as it is and you take its instructions, then you could, for example, in this first example, do all kinds of very terrible sexual interactions, right?
Yeah,
and that's only the beginning here.
Yeah. So notice what he's saying. Because this should be very, very disturbing. If I mean, it's only going to get worse. But saying, hey, if you just go to this Quran, you're going to conclude all of these horrible things. That's why you need all of these additional sources to go to, and so on. So it's like, wait, your God's eternal speech, his perfect eternal speech, you have to go outside of that to get all sorts of clarifications that would tell you don't have sex with a 5-year-old. You have to go elsewhere. But here, notice the problem. Let me read a couple quick verses. There are way more, but I'll just give a couple of examples. Here's the problem. The Quran claims to be perfectly clear. Surah 11, verse 1. This is a book whose verses have been made firm and free from imperfection, and then they have been expounded in detail. The Quran verses are firm and free from imperfection. Well, if Allah makes it sound like you can have sex with a 5-year-old and you can't, then I would say that there's an imperfection there. 12:1. These are verses of the clear book. 15:1. These are the verses of the book and of a Quran that makes things clear. 24:46.
Hold on, David. Hold on. You are not interpreting those verses correctly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there is a reconciliation that they need to address here. So 24:46, certainly we have revealed clear communications. 26:2, these are the verses of the book that makes things clear. 27:1, these are verses of the Quran, a book that makes things clear. 28:2, these are verses of the book that makes things clear. And 57:9, he it is who sends down clear communications upon his servant, that he may bring you forth from utter darkness into light. Now, you do have, in addition to all these, Surah 3, verse 7, which says that there are unclear things in the Quran, but the standard method of reconciling all these passages that say the Quran is perfectly clear with the claim that there are unclear things, the standard reconciliation for Islamic commentators is that Allah is perfectly clear in his commands, but there are, theological claims that you're a human, you just can't get your mind around. But notice the passages that hijab is going to be talking about are commands about marriage and divorce and wife beating and so on. And he's saying that these are so hopelessly unclear. You think you can have sex with a 5-year-old and as we're about to see, do much worse to her.
Well, the actual context here is, of course, you as an Islamophobe would misrepresent this, but it's actually that when the Quran says that the Quran is very clear and perfect and easy to understand, then it means it is clear once you clarify it.
Yeah,
it is clear once you go to the correct scholars who understand it the right way and clarify it according to the correct opinion of the specific correct scholars. That's when it's clear.
Isn't that interesting, by the way? Allah, in his eternal speech, is constantly bragging that he's so incredibly clear, you can't miss the point. And then you've got his followers who come along and, well, what Allah really means in all these verses is this other thing. And we have to go to all the sources and we have to go to the various schools of Islamic thought to figure out what in the world he's even talking about. And if you just go with Allah's perfectly clear speech, you would come to some really, really horrible conclusions.
Yeah. Ali here said, he pointed out, God should have said it was kind of clear. So Allah could have said it's kind of clear. But
some of this is somewhat clear.
Yeah, it's a little bit clear.
It's a little bit clear.
I just noticed that David the Dizzle titled himself Super Genius here, which is, of course, amazing. Total humility going on here.
Hold on. I'm saying this, and I'm going to back it up with evidences.
Awesome.
Let me repeat my point. We both agree that it's haram and it's wrong to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. Okay, good. My premise today, my thesis today is as follows.
It's guaranteed. Go ahead.
The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran at all.
At all.
But is in fact found in the Sunnah. Okay, and listen, if you just read the Quran, it is halal. It would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. Tell me how and why.
Yeah, so the statement is very clear here. If you read only the Quran, it will be halal, permissible, without objection, without problem, to have sex with a 5-year-old, for example.
Yeah, and by the way, this is a side note, but I've talked about this in the past, where when Muhammad accused Christians and Jews of deifying their priests and rabbis, he was actually challenged by someone. Someone said, "Hey, what are you talking about? They don't worship their priests and rabbis." And the response was, when they let their priests and rabbis overrule what Allah has said about halal and haram, you're worshiping them. Well, notice what hijab is saying here. He's saying, yes, if you just read Allah's speech, then you would conclude that you can have sex with a 5-year-old. We have to go outside that to human beings to tell us that is unacceptable. Wait a minute. He just said, according to what Allah says, it's halal. Sex with a 5-year-old is halal. You have to go outside of it. You have to go to Muhammad and his companions to find out that you shouldn't have sex with a 5-year-old, that it's actually haram. And so what's that mean? It means that whoever you are listening to besides Allah, you have worshipped that person, not according to me, according to Muhammad himself. So everything he's saying right now, according to his prophet, everything he's saying right now is shirk. It's total shirk.
So one thing to clarify for those who come in and who don't understand the point here is we are very well aware that Muhammad hijab, like many other Muslims, do not believe it is permissible to have sexual relations with a 5-year-old girl. He believes it is not permissible. He thinks it is impermissible, but only impermissible because it is explained as impermissible by secondary sources outside of the Quran. And he here comes and explains that according to the Quran, there is no such thing. According to the Quran, it is entirely permissible to go and have sex with a 5-year-old. And you have to rely on explanations outside the Quran, aside from Allah, in order to understand that you can't actually do that. So other sources, secondary sources, have to clarify the point, because the primary source of your religion, the eternal word of Allah, gives you a huge misunderstanding and makes you do abhorrent things if you only follow that. And that, even by Islamic standards, even by the interpretations of Muhammad, would be equivalent to worshipping their prophets and worshipping their scholars, because they have to take their scholars and their prophets' words to overrule things that Allah says in the Quran.
And that's shirk.
And that's the problem. And with that, we have come to the end of this live stream. Problem solved. No, just let's move on. Come on.
In Surah Al-Talaq, chapter 65, verse 4, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us who you can divorce and who you cannot divorce. And then he says, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ, and the ones who had never been pubescent before.
Okay, what was that? Surah 16?
Surah Al-Talaq, chapter 65, verse 4. وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ. Now the word lam in Arabic, it's what you call harfu nahi lil madi, which means that it's something, a negative term for the past tense. The Mufassirun, they say about this term, about this verse, it talks about breastfeeding women, because when you're breastfeeding you obviously can't menstruate. And it also talks about pregnant women, obviously you don't menstruate.
Okay, you
However,
said
at the same time,
65 verse 4.
yeah.
It doesn't say anything about that.
Yes, it does. I'm just.
Yeah, it does. Gotta agree with Hijab on this one.
Absolutely.
That's the headline. David Wood, an apostate prophet, finally agree with Muhammad Hijab on something.
I completely agree with Muhammad Hijab here. Yeah, he's definitely on. Do you want to pull it up?
You want to read 65:4? Yeah, I could read some commentaries as well if you wanted to show people the verse.
The verse. I got the verse here. So chapter 65, verse 4, which is what Muhammad Hijab references here in this video. It says, according to the Sahih International Translation.
Yeah, let me just because this verse does sound confusing unless you are aware of the previous revelations in the Quran. So the Quran had allowed, the Quran had given rulings on divorce. If you're going to divorce a woman, then you need to wait 3 monthly cycles before she remarries, because you want to avoid confusion if she's pregnant. You don't want to be in a situation where you divorce a woman, she goes and marries another guy the next day, and then she's pregnant and you're not sure whose child it is. So he came up with this rule, 3 monthly cycles, and so that had already been revealed. But then the questions arose, because there are 3 sort of categories of wives who wouldn't have a monthly cycle. And that is someone who's pregnant, someone who is too old, so someone who's gone through menopause, or someone who's too young. And then so Muhammad, how can we wait 3 monthly cycles for these categories of wives who don't have a monthly cycle? And Surah 65:4 is an answer to those questions. What do you do about those 3 categories of wives?
And it says regarding that in Sahih International, and those who no longer expect menstruation among your women, if you doubt, then their period is 3 months. And also for those who have not menstruated. And for those who are pregnant, their term is until they give birth. And whoever fears Allah, he will make for him his matter ease.
Read the Mohsin Khan there.
Mohsin Khan says in that regard,
is 3 months, and for those who have no courses, so no monthly menstrual cycle, i.e. they are still immature.
Yeah, i.e. they are still immature.
Yeah,
Arbi, for example, says, and those who have not menstruated as yet. Mm-hmm. And you can find the same interpretation in multiple translations and also in the exegesis, the tafsirs.
Yeah, so what this is saying, ladies and gentlemen, is yes, the earlier command, the previous command was then wait 3 months, 3 menstrual cycles, 3 monthly menstrual cycles if you're going to divorce a woman. The question was, hey, what about wives that don't have a monthly menstrual cycle, either because they're too young or because they're too old or because they're pregnant? And these are the answers. And notice we already have Muhammad Hijab confirming this interpretation, but just so no one thinks that Muhammad Hijab is some idiot who's making this stuff up on his own, I'll go to let me just quickly read some of the greatest commentaries of all time. Ibn Kathir, right? Says Allah the Exalted clarifies. Oh, you got Ibn Kathir up?
I do.
What weird site are you on?
I don't know.
if you have doubt, and those who have no courses, as is saying.
You can go ahead and read your
Let's see right there. What does that say? Like, well, I'm having trouble because it's so tiny on my screen here.
Oh yeah, okay.
The second is that if you do not know the ruling in the case, blah blah blah, then the ruling is 3 months. Okay, scroll down. Those in menopause, among your women, for them the iddah, if you have doubt, is 3 months, and for those who have no courses, and for those who are pregnant, their iddah is until they lay down their burden. Ibn Abi Hatim, blah blah blah. Where are you?
When the ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah was revealed prescribing the iddah of divorce, some people in Medina said there are still some women whose iddah has not been mentioned in the Quran. There are the young, the old, whose menstruation is discontinued, and the pregnant. Later on, the ayah was revealed. I think there should be more. And for those until they lay down their burden, I don't know. just read your part.
You've got this. Okay, yeah, I got the relevant section right here. You can find it. The relevant section says Allah the Exalted clarifies the waiting period of the woman in menopause, and that is the one whose menstruation has stopped due to her older age. Her iddah is 3 months instead of the 3 monthly cycles for those who menstruate, which is based upon the ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah. This, the same for the young who have not reached the years of menstruation.
Oh, I got it right here.
Oh, there you go. There you have it. So he clarifies, those in menopause and those who do not have menses. So notice her iddah is 3 months instead of the 3 monthly cycles for those who menstruate, which is based upon the ayat, blah, blah, blah. The same for the young who have not reached the years of menstruation. So this is talking about girls who are too young to have a monthly menstrual cycle. Their iddah is 3 months. So the iddah is that waiting period before she can marry again. Let me read Tafsir Jalalain real quick. Tafsir Jalalain says, and as for those of your women who no longer expect to menstruate, so that's those who are too old, if you have any doubts about their waiting period, their prescribed waiting period shall be 3 months. And also for those who have not yet menstruated because of their young age, their period also shall be 3 months. So Jalalain, the two Jalals specifically say that this is for girls who are too young to menstruate. And then Ibn Abbas, he actually gives the historical background. It says, and as for such of your women as despair of menstruation, and then his commentary says, because of old age, if you doubt about their waiting period, the period of waiting shall be 3 months, upon which, he actually gives the historical background. Someone's asking Muhammad this question, upon which another man asked, O Messenger of Allah, what about the waiting period of those who do not have menstruation because they are too young? And it's because of their young age, their waiting period is 3 months.
Yeah.
So these are some of the most respected commentaries of all time. They're saying exactly what Muhammad Hijab said, that this is just talking, all it says is it's talking about marrying, divorcing, and then remarrying, someone else remarries a girl all before she has reached the age of puberty, all before she has a monthly menstrual cycle.
And the tafsirs that David just read, I mean, Ibn Kathir is the most widely recognized, the most popular tafsir, exegesis, interpretation of the Quran, known by everybody around the world and followed very, very much precisely by the traditionalists. And when it comes to Tafsir Jalalain, which is the tafsir of the two Jalals, and that is a tafsir that is also very widely known, one of the most popular ones, and is also known because it's very specifically addresses the explanations of words and breaks things down in a very simple, easy to understand way. And what it does here, when it breaks down things in a simple, easy to understand way, is that it exposes the Quran as something pretty barbaric.
Yeah, and just for a modern, a 20th century commentator, Maududi is certainly among the most famous commentators of the 20th century. And his commentary, he says on this verse, therefore, making mention of the waiting period for the girls who have not yet menstruated clearly proves that it is not only permissible, halal, to give away the girl in marriage at this age, but it is also permissible for the husband to consummate marriage with her. Now, obviously, watch what he says. Now, obviously, no Muslim has the right to forbid a thing which the Quran has held as permissible. So listen to what Hijab says. He says, if you just look at the Quran, you would say it's halal. Maududi says no man has a right to look at what the Quran says is halal and then say it's not permissible. And so, man, they got some problems here, dude. All their commentaries say what it means. Hijab agrees that it means that, but Hijab is saying, hey, we can't go with the halal on this one. This is too sick. This is too sick. We have to go outside the Quran.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
No.
Let
Let me read it out for non-speaking Arabs here. Surah 65 verse
Yeah.
12.
In the
As
tablet,
for the women who have reached menopause,
Yes.
if you have any doubts, the interim shall be 3 months.
Yeah.
As for those whose menstruation has ceased,
Okay,
and
good.
those who are
This
already
is it.
pregnant,
Good.
the interim is until they give birth.
This is the verse.
Anyone who reverences Allah, He makes His matters
ولا
easy
يئسن
for
من
him.
واحد من
So
نسائكم
where does Allah say?
فعدتهن 3 أشهر واللائي لم
Why doesn't he just let the guy speak?
يحد.
Okay,
والله لم
there's
يحد.
a verse in the Quran where Allah says that
No,
you
listen,
choose your
but
partner.
you're with me here.
Look at these
What's
terrified
the-
girls, by the way.
Sorry again? Cameron, do you mind if I just, because to other people they might not know what I'm trying to say.
Look at these girls.
So what? Let me just finish what I'm saying and then you can come back. In the Sunnah, there's a hadith. And by the way, this is very important, yeah? I want all Muslims to be aware of this. The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds and
Girls are
6-year-olds and
chatting and
7-year-olds or whatever is not because of puberty.
Not because of puberty.
Wait a minute, what did you say? It's
Right.
Wait a minute, what did you say?
Wait a minute. What did you say? That's right. He's absolutely correct. He's going to break it down. He's going to say, hey, and this is really a big slap in the face to Ali Dawa and some of the other Muslims who, as long as you wait for puberty, if my daughter reaches the age of puberty, I will tell her you are ready to be married, right? And Hijab saying that's not even what the Quran says. The Quran doesn't even say you have to reach puberty.
It's not because of puberty.
Look at that terrified girl in the background, by the way.
Yeah.
not because of puberty, because that verse in the Quran actually says lam yahid. They never had puberty before. You can't go around that.
You can't go around that.
The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with those people is because of harm. The hadith says la darar wa la dirar. And I've said before, the reason why is because of the sunnah, not because of the Quran. Such a verse, la darar, means you can't inflict harm to anyone else. You know, I'm going to make a point to you today and to the British government. Wait a minute, what did you say? British government? Yes, the British.
Wait a minute, what did you say? It's very funny that he basically appeals to the harm principle here and unites it with his traditional Islamic beliefs.
Yeah. You can't harm people, and so since you can't harm people, then obviously you can't have sex with a 5-year-old. See, now we overrule what Allah has declared halal. Now worship me, worship me. You've heard my interpretation. Everyone worship me, agree with me, and not with Allah. You can either go through this entire section. It's kind of it's not directly relevant to the Quran discussion, so up to you. Or maybe you can speed it up. I'll give you the gist of what he says. He's going to say that he's going to talk about the British system where it's just a minimum age of consent. And he's going to point out, well, what if a woman's 100 years old? She would be in danger having sex with a young guy too. And the British law doesn't say you can't have sex with a 100-year-old. So, you see, Islam is actually better.
Okay, let's go through that.
Yeah.
Government. I believe that the way they formalize the age of consent is flawed. Let me tell you why. And I'll come back. No, but wallahi, let me come to you. Let me come to you. I'm with you. Cameron, give me a second, please. I beg you, yeah? You know, in Islam, it's haram to have sexual intercourse with anyone who you'll cause harm to. That's why we don't have a problem with the age of consent, let's say, yeah? In this country, a 30-year-old man can have sexual intercourse with a centenarian, a 100-year-old woman. But I'm going to be explicit here, Cameron, yeah? If a 30-year-old man has sexual intercourse with a 100-year-old woman, it's going to cause physical harm and psychological harm.
Wait a minute, what did you say?
What do you mean? What did you say?
The same two things, which is the reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds in this country.
How in the world is that comparable?
Yeah, all he's saying is the Islamic way, if you actually go with the hadith and you apply some sort of rule about harm, which he's interpreting as overruling Allah's claim in the Quran that you can have sex with a 5-year-old. He's interpreting it that way, and he's saying this is actually, the Islamic way is actually better, because we wouldn't just say, oh, the law says I can have sex with a 100-year-old. In Islam, based on my interpretation of harm, that could be harmful, and therefore I wouldn't have sex with a 100-year-old and wouldn't harm her.
Wait a minute, what did you say?
So Islam is better for women. This is awesome, man.
I don't understand this guy.
Look at these girls in the background, man. They're
I really don't.
Their minds are mush right now after this.
Yeah, someone pointed out 100-year-old woman can consent.
Yeah. That's what he's saying. He's saying a 100-year-old woman should not be able to consent because to sex with a young virile guy, because he's going to basically break her.
Well, fantastic.
And
Great
so this
comparison.
is where hijab's mind goes when he's thinking about stuff. It's the same, like golden showers.
Don't have sex with 100-year-old grandmas, because it's also very harmful for the same reason that we don't have sex with those people, meaning 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds. You should also not go and have sex with 100-year-old grandmas. It's harmful. And Islam, of course, gives us the answer to that, provides us with the idea that we should not cause harm. And since we somehow understand that it is harmful to have sex with 100-year-old women, we should therefore ignore Allah's rulings in the Quran and add this additional rule and say that is not permissible. And thereby we also conclude that our own minds and our observations of reality are superior and more important to Allah's word in the Quran.
Yep, precisely.
Yeah, precisely.
All right.
Correct.
So if that's the case, they should make it illegal for a 30-year-old to have sex with a 100-year-old, just as they made it illegal for under 16s to be having sexual intercourse with over 16s. Now the point is this: Islam, why does it stop certain marriages from taking place? It only stops it on the basis of harm. And that is a case-by-case reality. If somebody, for example, as I've just mentioned, is 30 years old, and he's having sexual intercourse with a woman that's 100 years old who's got a hip replacement surgery, that's actually haram. That marriage should not be allowed to take place in Islam.
You see? Suppose you want to marry a 100-year-old who just got her hips replaced. This is why you need my understanding of this hadith about harm.
This is getting really weird. I didn't think it would go down.
And it's just amazing. Muslims look at this, alhamdulillah, so brilliant, such a brilliant explanation, until we come along and say, guys, look at what he just said, and then, you dirty Islamophobes, how dare you report what Brother Hijab just said.
This is getting really weird, man.
Top G! He's going full top G mode right now, man.
Top G.
Top G!
Islam. I would actually urge the British government to take this Islamic principle on board, because actually exploitation, both physical and psychological, can take place.
And the UK government watched this video and they thought,
we do need that.
Oh,
let's just
find this guy immediately.
Find Mohammed Hijab, make him the next prime minister so that he can.
Oh boy.
If a 30-year-old man, fully vitalized, has sexual intercourse with a 100-year-old woman.
Fully vitalized.
Now the point is this: the Quran doesn't say anywhere in the Quran that the woman has to be pubescent.
That's true.
Why? Because you can have a 16-year-old. It's possible. You can have a 16-year-old prepubescent. It's possible. You can. In Islam, 15 is the max, but in this country, 16. It's conceivable to find a 16-year-old woman who's, for example, hasn't menstruated yet. It is conceivable, although it's very unlikely, right? The point is this: in the Islamic discourse, the reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with categories of people, whether it be a 100-year-old woman if you're 30, or a 5-year-old girl if you're 30, is because of the harm, both psychological and physical, that you'll be causing them. Now I dare you now, you're a Quran alone guy.
Triple
I
dog
dare
dare.
you to find one verse
I
in the
dare
Quran
you.
where
One.
it says you're not allowed to marry someone based on harm, or you're not allowed to have sexual intercourse based on harm, or you're not allowed to marry someone based on puberty.
Now, yeah, go ahead.
So he just breaks down and challenges the guy, the Quran only guy, in the end, explicitly asking him if he can find one single verse in the Quran that says you may not have a marriage or sexual intercourse with somebody who has not reached puberty, somebody who is below a certain age, that you cannot marry or have sexual intercourse based on harm, because these things are clearly and obviously not found in the Quran. If you go by the Quran itself, if you read the Quran, you will not find such things. On the contrary, you will understand, if you only read the Quran, that it is entirely permissible and unproblematic to go and have sex with all kinds of little girls, no matter if they have reached puberty or not, and no matter if you harm them or not. That's what you get from reading the Quran. That's what he says.
Yeah, and I mean, guys, think about the implications here. Again, once he is granted that Allah's speech makes it halal to have sex with a 5-year-old, and only his reasoning about harm makes it haram. If you go with him and not with what he says about Allah, then you're committing shirk and you're worshiping Muhammad hijab. Not according to me, not according to AP, according to Muhammad himself. It's Muhammad who said that when you allow a human being to tell you that something is haram when Allah has made it halal, you're actually worshiping the person. But I mean, think about what he's saying. He's saying if someone is going off to a land where there are no Muslims, and someone converts to Islam, and is going there, he's saying that if you just handed that person the Quran and did not also hand him massive collections of hadiths to learn Islam, this person would go to this other land, open up the Quran, read the Quran over. He could read it 1,000 times, and he would walk away. According to Muhammad hijab, he would walk away saying, I could go have sex with a 5-year-old. Nothing in this book says otherwise. And then Muhammad hijab would say, no, you have to look up my videos to find out why you shouldn't do that. You have to worship me. Interesting.
Here's somebody who says, by the name of Mick Ferguson, which sounds very credible, says, blatant lie, Quran says girl needs to reach puberty.
Chapter and verse, Mick.
Where?
Chapter and verse, Mick. We literally went to the Quran and 4 commentaries, 3 of the most respected commentaries in history, and then one, possibly the most famous 20th century commentary, and Muhammad hijab breaking down the Arabic right here. They all agree the Quran is saying, yes, you can marry, have sex with, and divorce a girl all before she's reached puberty, and that girl can then go marry another guy who can marry her, have sex with her, divorce her, pass her on to the next guy. As long as you wait 3 months in between those, a prepubescent girl can have 7 or 8 different husbands before she's ever even reached puberty. Because according to Muhammad hijab, she can start when she's 5, according to the Quran.
Yeah.
This is like, but we're the Islamophobes, you bigots. How dare you say this? My goodness, man.
The only part in the Quran where it actually specifies an age, it doesn't specify, where it mentions an age in relation to marriage, is where it says that if you take orphans and you take care of orphans, then you should check them and marry them off when they reach an age of marriage. That's what it says. Test the orphans, test them well, and when they reach the age of marrying, then you should marry them off. But that again is a very specific reference to orphans, and it doesn't say this is about puberty. It says when they are ready to get married, then marry them off.
Mm-hmm.
And that has its own interpretations. This is not a ruling regarding, when it is allowed to marry a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
That here, we have just gone through it, according to Muhammad hijab and to many others. And the Quran itself is simply not found in the Quran. The Quran itself...
Isn't this amazing, by the way? I mean, yeah. Allah, his perfectly clear speech. And again, the standard method of understanding all the verses about Allah's clarity is that he's perfectly clear in his commands. He gives a ruling, that is about divorcing girls after you've had sex with them, and yet the girls haven't reached puberty. Hijab agrees with us. All of Islam's greatest commentators agree with us, and yet we're the liars. Isn't this amazing? It's like they can all say it for 14 centuries. They can all say the same thing. As soon as we say, "Hey guys, look at what they just said," then it becomes an embarrassment, and it's liars. How dare you lie about our book? Well, my goodness, man. What a religion, dude. What a religion.
What a religion. Obviously, these people are all Islamophobes. Muhammad Hijab, David Wood, Apostle Prophet, Ibn Kathir, the Jalalain, and so on.
All right. Look at that girl. Look at that girl in the background, man.
Terrifying.
What? My mom didn't tell me this.
She's thinking, wait a minute, what did you say?
If you do that, I will take my point back. It doesn't. So that makes it halal then. It makes it halal.
No, it doesn't.
So if you're Quran alone, you're allowed to have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds.
Because it tells you who you should marry. It tells you who
Where?
you should
Where does
marry.
it say that?
Well, it's,
Yeah, you're not allowed to marry your auntie, your mother, and that's
I'm
enough.
not saying that. The
Okay.
criteria of what you should look for in a marriage.
Go on, where does it say that?
First and foremost, Allah says that a pure man for a pure woman.
Okay,
Meaning,
fine.
We're talking about belief.
Okay.
Your belief is how pure your belief. For example,
Get me one verse in the Quran which says the woman has to be pubescent.
No.
One
By
verse.
the way, do you see what this? Do you see what this guy's doing? Saying you have to marry a believer, and so it looks like he's saying, you have to, you're supposed to marry a believer, even though you are allowed to marry, Jews and Christians and so on. So somehow they're in the believer category. But he's saying you have to marry a believer, and so it looks like he's saying, well, a 5-year-old couldn't really be a believer. Doesn't know. A 5-year-old doesn't know anything, so a 5-year-old couldn't even be a believer. But notice, that's Hijab's point. You have to do some gymnastics like this and say, oh, okay, yeah, this verse is clearly saying you can have sex with a 5-year-old. It's halal according to this verse. You have to take something else in the Quran and twist it into saying you can't, which is what this he has to do because he has no outside source. He's Quran only.
By the way, there is a funny side note here. Some people who also like to appeal to Ibn Kathir and others want to point out that the Quran does indeed say that there is, or the Quran, hints that girls should only be married off at the age of puberty, and then they refer to Ibn Kathir. The issue is Ibn Kathir never actually really said such a thing. There is an interpretation by Ibn Kathir about the verse that I just mentioned, which is, by the way, chapter 4, verse 6, I think, where he comments on marrying off orphans when they have reached the age of marriage. And he says in the actual text of the tafsir that when they have reached the age of maturity, and maturity is then not specified, it is not said that it is puberty. What he says about it is something like that there have been differing opinions on when this maturity is, and one of the popular opinions is that once a child begins to have wet dreams, then the child is matured, can be married off.
Yeah. So and again, that's the problem is the verse that's actually talking about whether you can have sex with a 5-year-old says yes, thumbs up, and you have to go to interpretations of other things and interpret it in certain ways and then apply it beyond orphans, and then you have to do all these you have to take all these additional steps when according to Surah 65 verse 4 it's halal. You don't get to change halal to haram through interpretations once Allah has classified something as halal.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Area for what marriage should be based on, not what it should
I want
be
one
based
verse
on,
in the Quran
what
from
it
the
should be
beginning of the
based
book
on.
to the end of the book which says that she has to be pubescent.
I've just said that.
So okay, so that makes it halal from your perspective.
No, it doesn't.
From your perspective, it's halal.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It does.
Because the criteria for marriage is defined in the Quran.
Where?
What should be a marriage?
Oh,
in a
and where does it say
partner, and what should be in a
pubescent?
marriage in
Where
a
does it say
partner.
puberty is not?
Firstly and foremostly, she should have the same belief as you. How can a 5-year-old girl that doesn't know the difference?
Bro,
between
I'm
a
not.
face-
I don't agree.
A 5-year-old can't be classified as a believer even.
This guy obviously doesn't know his history. In his history, it is a child of a Muslim family is considered child of a believer. Is considered a believer. You don't have to go through.
He's
I
Quran.
believe in
He's
Islam.
Quran only, man.
Well, this is so funny. He's Quran only, and then he has to somehow appeal to some logic that is outside of the Quran in order to then explain explain the Quran.
Yeah.
It always goes there. It always has to go there. They always have to. The Quranists have to somehow interpret the Quran based on some interpretations and reasonings, and figure out what the Quran actually says and what the Quran actually what Quran verses actually mean. But then they claim to be simply Quran only believers. It is weird.
That. We both say it's
know
haram.
what belief is.
Okay, fine.
So why would I marry a
No, no,
5-year-old?
no.
So the criteria is
This doesn't make sense what you're saying. I want you to find me one thing in the Quran.
The criteria, Allah tells you what is for marriage, not what is
Listen,
not for marriage.
Kamrul,
What is for marriage?
you know in the Quran it says حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ
Allah
أُمَّهَاتُكُم.
says
It says you're not allowed to marry your mum.
Your woman.
It says you're not allowed to marry your sister or your auntie.
You're gonna look
Where
for
does
a
it say you're
woman
not allowed to marry
that believes the way that you
a
believe.
prepubescent?
If you're a Shia, you marry a Shia. If you're a Sunni, then you look for a woman who believes in a Sunni.
Listen,
If
I'm
you're-
not getting an answer here, my friend.
I am, it's from the Quran.
No, but you're
Yeah,
not
notice-
getting me a direct verse in the Quran.
Notice what hijab is saying. Give me a verse which says anything remotely resembling don't have sex with a girl until she's reached puberty. And this guy who's Quran only supposedly is adding his own interpretations to a bunch of things. But a 5-year-old can't really be considered a believer. Shouldn't know anything. I mean, notice how horrifying this is, because if you put it together, hey, a 5-year-old doesn't know anything. Right, a 5-year-old knows very little. One of my sons is almost 5. He does not know much about life or marriage or anything like that. But if you put that together with, hey, the Quran allows sex with 5-year-olds. It's yes, sorry, bud, the Quran allows you to have sex with a 5-year-old, and that should be terrifying and horrifying to you. Somehow, all these guys are Muslims, and it's all fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a 6-year-old, and he just turned 6, and he was trying to convince me a few weeks ago that leprechauns are real, and that I'm just being weird when I say they're not real, they're fake.
You see?
Yeah, but yeah. So
you see, you deny Islam, and now your kids believe in leprechauns. You see?
I want a direct verse. I want a direct verse.
You're telling me in
Go
the
on.
Quran, there is nowhere in the Quran where Allah says a pure man for a pure woman.
No, I didn't say that.
Well,
That's a straw man argument.
No, it's not.
I want a direct answer to my question here. I've just said the criteria for why we're not allowed to marry prepubescents, or let's say women that can't deal with it, is harm. That comes from the Sunnah. Now, the only verse in the Quran is وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. Don't cause your own harm to your own self. But it doesn't say anything about causing harm to others. I'm looking for one verse in the Quran.
Just one.
وَلَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. I'm looking for one verse that you can say, you pinpoint it and say this is where it says prepubescent marriage or whatever is not allowed. It's only found in the Sunnah.
Yeah, it's a simple request, right? Give me the verse, chapter and verse. Very simple, but no takers.
This is kind of like the Zakir Naik method, where he says, give me one verse which clearly and unequivocally says, this and this and that.
Yeah, except, I mean, in this situation, we've got the clearest verse that speaks on this is acknowledged by the greatest Muslim commentators of all time to say it's halal to have sex with a 5-year-old. So you show me otherwise, and you can't.
Yeah, I root for the tall, bearded guy here.
It's only found in the Sunnah.
Because that is an addition.
That's the problem now with the Quran alone.
No, it's not. Because I give the answer for what is
That's
the
the problem
criteria
with
for
the Quran
marriage.
alone.
The criteria for the marriage, what you look for your partner, is clearly defined in the Quran.
That's not good enough for me.
A 5-year-old cannot make a distinction in understanding.
No,
what
but that's
belief
your
is.
extrapolation. I'm saying get me a verse in the Quran. Direct verse.
No, you can't get a direct verse.
Okay, there you have it. So
You just said you can't get a direct verse.
Okay, there you have it.
So the only direct verse says, yes, you can have sex with a 5-year-old. Muhammad Hijab says, show me anything that says otherwise. A guy tries to turn a claim about having a believing or pure wife into something that would rule out 5-year-olds, but he doesn't do a good job. And so that's it.
Well, but Muhammad Hijab demonstrated very, very clearly that according to the Quran, it is okay to have sex with a 5-year-old girl. It's case closed.
Indisputable.
Unequivocal.
100% correct, Muhammad Hijab.
Absolutely.
So you can marry a 5-year-old.
That lays out a criteria of what you should look in a partner.
Okay, do you agree with me that being okay, Kamrul, that's done now. We'll move on.
Okay, the guy is humiliated, is destroyed. Do you want to move to the section where he talks about wives and how to treat them.
They're probably about to get to it, aren't they?
That's done, we move on.
No,
No
you're
problem.
not done.
Okay, give me something.
No, that's not done.
Give me
You gotta-
something.
You got to first admit what I'm saying, acknowledge what it is that I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. I
What
do
I'm saying-
acknowledge. Yes, I do acknowledge.
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
So
I
the
do, of course.
Look at the grin on
criteria
his
and
face.
the
Look at the grin on his face. Yes,
I
I
like this guy.
I
like you, man.
acknowledge that words have come
Okay.
out of your mouth.
Now that we've established this point.
what the criteria of marriage is. It doesn't tell us what it's not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good.
So-
Let's see if the people are convinced with that. We move on.
It doesn't matter.
Now, if they're not convinced, no
They
problem.
can only get
No
convinced
problem.
if they study the very
If
book
they're
that
not
claim to
convinced,
be
we'll move
following.
on. Now, second question. The Quran says وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ. Now I'm going to become all controversial.
So this is the important topic that we actually want to address today and talk about. The talk is coming to chapter 4, verse 34, which is the very infamous, notorious verse, which says that you have to discipline your wives, and if they do not listen to you, you may beat them, you may hit them. And there, the specific word, he says, "Yudribuna," which is beating, striking, which they will now discuss. And this is very, very critical.
And so notice, what he did in the section about, matter of fact, let me give the overall picture. Here's the issue: people who are Quran only, you can have a sophisticated reason, a serious reason for being Quran only, right? It's that's the speech of Allah. I don't have to believe in Muhammad. Muhammad is basically a mailman. He's receiving the message and delivering the message. Why would I believe everything this guy says? Although you have to deal with some Quran passages that tell you what to think about Muhammad and lay him down as the pattern of conduct and so on. But anyway, the point is, the way Quran only Muslims who've actually thought through the issue have described it. It's like, hey, if you get a letter from a king and they bring you the letter, you don't start, anything the mailman tells me to do, I'll do what the mailman tells me. Like, why would you do that, right? But the fact is, the vast majority of people who go in a Quran only direction are doing it to avoid all the embarrassing facts in the hadith, right? They're trying to avoid all the stuff about things like Muhammad having sex with a 9-year-old girl, and Aisha having to clean his semen stains. They want to avoid all that stuff and just say, hey, let's just go with the Quran. And so, hey, we can avoid all these horrible, problematic things by just going with the Quran. And hijab is flipping that and saying, no, if you just go with the Quran, you don't have the limitations that are placed on some of these things by the hadith. And so it's actually, you get something worse. You don't get something better by ignoring the hadith. You get something that's even sicker and more demonic and evil than if you go with the hadith. And so he's pointing out how extreme it is to just go with the Quran, because you would think you can have sex with a 5-year-old, and now he's going to go, hey, if you're trying to avoid stuff in the hadith about wife beating, you need to think again, because it's actually worse. It's actually worse if you read the Quran without the limitations on wife beating that you find in the hadith.
Yep.
Controversial on this guy. Yeah, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he never hit his wife ever.
That's
with me, yeah?
that's
Allahu
debatable.
Akbar.
Debatable. There's a hadith that says Muhammad never hit his wives, but there are other hadiths that say he did hit his wives, and now they're retranslating them. So you can go with the hard copies, the old hard copies of Sahih Muslim and Sunan an-Nasai, and they say that they translate it as Muhammad struck. Aisha says he struck me in my chest, which caused me pain. That's what Sahih Muslim and Sunan an-Nasai say. Now, if you go to them, like on sunnah.com, it says he gave me a shove. Right. So they're now they're retranslating the parts about Muhammad hitting Aisha because we started using it as a criticism. So in other words, exactly what's going on here. They're fine saying it for 14 centuries. As soon as we use it as a criticism of Islam, they want to suddenly change because we're Islamophobes.
Yeah. And it is also very clear in the hadith that Muhammad permitted women to the beating of women, that he also said that men should not be questioned why they beat their women. And there is much more. There's also, do you want to go into those sources right now, or do you want to move on for a little bit and then go back to that?
Yeah, we can. What do you mean sources? You mean the ones about Muhammad hitting Aisha, or?
Well, there is also the one about
434. Yeah. Let him talk a little more, and then we definitely want to look at what is acceptable according to the hadith.
Mm-hmm.
And he never created hadiths.
Okay,
These are
okay,
innovations
okay,
by
Kamrul,
scholars.
Kamrul,
Remember
Kamrul.
that. The only
Kamrul.
hadith that he brought
Kamrul.
was the Asan al-Hadith. Surah 39 verse 23.
Five.
Allah sent down the best hadith.
Okay,
a
mashallah.
book that is consistent, relating,
very nice.
contrasting, repeating.
Yes.
The skins of those who reverence the
تخشعر
Lord.
جلود الذين يؤمنون. Okay, fine.
This is the
Okay,
hadith
fine,
that
fine.
he brought. He didn't bring anything else, I think.
Okay, very nice. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Have to ask him this. He needs to know.
He needs to know.
Okay, no. Okay, I need to know. But I need to ask. Okay, he needs to know. I like it. Now you're starting to get some of the. Listen. But
Getting the hikmah.
before I give you the shovel.
Before I go to you,
Wait, hold on.
the shovel.
No worries. That's it. What are you talking about, brother? Shovel? No, look.
Wait a minute, what did you say?
Before I get the shovel to bury you.
Wait a minute, where were we?
If the people are convinced with that, we move on.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's consistent, relating,
very nice.
contrasting, repeating.
Yes.
The skins of those who reverence the Lord. And he never created hadiths.
Okay,
He's
no,
an
okay.
Why
Why do you
did
keep
this...
messing around with it? He's about to go in there. Just let it play.
Okay, no, it just went to the beginning, and then I don't know if we're at the right place now.
Okay,
My
Camel.
scholars. Remember that.
Okay,
The only
Camel.
hadith that he brought
Camel.
was the Asan al-Hadith. Surah 39 verse 23.
Five.
Allah sent down the best hadith.
Okay,
a
mashallah.
book that is consistent,
Okay,
relating,
very nice.
contrasting, repeating.
Yes.
The skins of those who reverence the
تخشعر
Lord.
جلود الذين يؤمنون. Okay, fine.
This is the
Okay,
hadith
fine.
that he brought. He didn't bring anything else, I think.
Okay, very nice. Thank you for that. Now I'm going to ask you a question. Have to ask him this.
You got to ask him.
He needs to know.
He needs to
Without-
know.
Okay, no. Okay, I need to know. But I need to ask. Okay, he needs to know. I like it. Now you're starting to get some of the.
The speaker's corner power. Hikmah.
But before
the
I give you the shovel.
The hawk and the hikmah.
Before I bury you,
Wait, hold on.
the shovel.
No worries. That's it. What are you talking about, brother? Shovel?
Wait a minute.
No,
what
look,
did
the grave is dug.
The grave is dug.
You're inside of it. Now look,
You're in the grave.
you've got two options. You can have the humble hand
The humble hand.
that will take you out of the grave, or you can have the shovel of evidence that will bury you. Now I'm going to be very straightforward with you here. The shovel of evidence is as follows.
There we go.
وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ. Forget about everything else. It could mean striking a parable, but it also means to hit. Yeah? وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فَضَرْبَ الرِّقَابِ. In chapter number 40, in chapter 47 of the Quran,
47,
Surah Muhammad, verse 4, where it says if you find in the battle of war, if you see the people that you strive against them,
Strike them
in war, you can
Strike
fight
them
them and hit their necks. Darb, the same word you darb. Darb, the word daraba yadribu can range from patting and touching.
Okay.
Hold on, please.
I have to interject.
No, please, allow me,
This is one
Camel.
word in the Arabic language that has the most different meanings.
Okay, fine.
That's how you apply
Camera, I'm not disagreeing with you, my friend. Yeah, I do agree. That point, I want to shake your hand and agree.
it. You'll
Yes,
come on my way
yes,
soon,
I
inshallah.
agree with that. I agree with this point. He's right. I was about to make the same point. Me and you are on the same page now. The word daraba could actually mean striking a parable. It could mean tapping like this, like the tayammum. And it could mean hitting. It could mean beating someone up.
Yeah, so the context is that in chapter 4, verse 34, which is the verse that talks about beating your wife, which I could pull up right here, says men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the other and what they spend from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient. Let me zoom in here. Guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. But those from whom you fear arrogance, first advise them. Then, if they persist, forsake them in bed. And finally, strike them. But if they obey you, once more seek no means against them. Indeed, Allah is ever exalted and grand. So if they obey you, they're supposed to be obedient. And you can finally, as a final resort, after two different options, strike them, hit them, in order to turn them toward obedience and make them obedient to yourself, to the husband once again. And this word here, strike, which is what they are basically talking about, which is also translated as beat them. And if you want to
scourge was the Pickthall.
Oh yeah, okay. And
Scourge them.
And if you want to go into the word here, into the root, which is here, وَيْضْرِبُوهُنَّ, and strike them. So daraba, which is this word, this root word, DRB, is the word that they are talking about. And in the Quran, you can find different instances of this word where it is mentioned. You can see mostly it is used for strike, to hit, but also in different contexts, in different meanings. But in this context, it is translated as striking, as hitting, as translated by the Islamic scholars.
Yeah, and notice you need that for the logic. Like you read the Sahih International, and they add, first and second and so on to indicate that there's an escalation going on. That first you warn them, second, then you banish them to a separate bed, and finally, the last straw, you beat them. Although it doesn't say you have to think of those as steps. It just could be giving you 3 options of how you deal with it. But I would say when you go with the escalation view, it actually rules out some reinterpretations, because if you're escalating, hey, I've already warned you. And then, okay, that wasn't enough. Now I'm separating myself from you. You stay in your room. Don't come near me. And then I'm escalating beyond that. Well, that would be hitting. And so if you say, it just refers to something else, or giving her another warning, it doesn't make sense.
Yep. That was just the context explained here.
Yeah, you want to check out 47:4 and what he's saying.
47:4, yeah.
There you go. And you just kind of need the beginning. So when you meet those who disbelieve in battle, strike their necks until when you have inflicted slaughter upon them. Notice. So this is what hijab is saying. Surah 47 verse 4 says you strike your enemies in battle, and this is referring to slaughtering them. And hijab points out it's using the same term for talking about striking your wife. And so if you don't, this is hijab's point, if you don't go to the hadith to place some limitations on what you can do to your wife, you would conclude that you can chop her head off, that you can slaughter her when she disobeys you.
Yep. Here's his point. This is the same word, darba, the same word as is used in chapter 4, verse 34, when it describes hitting your wife. It says here, and strike your wives into obedience. And here it talks about the disbelievers. When you encounter them, strike their necks, slaughter them.
Yeah. So just to be clear, ladies and gentlemen, he's not saying that it's okay to slaughter your wife. He's saying if you just go with the Quran, there's nothing ruling that out. He's saying that you would read Surah 4, verse 34. Hey, I can strike my wife. What does that mean? He's saying without the hadith to place some limitations on what you could do, you would conclude I can strike her like I strike a guy in battle and slaughter him. So I can slaughter my wife if she gets out of line. So this is what he says is going to bury this dude. It's going to bury the Quran only position, because there's no way out of this. Not according to us, according to Muhammad Hijab, if you just read the Quran, you would conclude that you can chop your wife's head off if she gets out of line.
Yeah. And hit on their fingers and chop their necks. That's what you could possibly do if you just go with the Quran. Mm-hmm. David, what do you say about that?
Yeah, we should. I mean, you could play a little more of the clip, but we also want to look at the hadith as far as what you can do to your wife according to the hadith.
Yeah, let's go over with the video quickly and then.
Yeah, okay. Now the question is this: the Quran 4:34, it says, "Wadribuhunna." If we want to take your approach to the Quran, which is that you don't have the Sunnah next to it, we know the Prophet never touched his wife in that way. We know we don't advocate hitting women and stuff like that. Yeah.
Wrong.
However,
wrong.
If I was a Quran alone, wallahi, I'll be honest with you, I would look at the Quran.
Inshallah, go to Jannah if he was, yeah.
Okay,
if anything but Quran alone, you're mushrikin.
He's saying he's being honest here.
That's a fact. So my word, that's the Quran. You
okay,
need to study it
that's fine.
with the right belief.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Even though there's a little bit of controversy there, we might not agree. But here's what I was.
Because you don't study.
You're gonna teach me now. But what I ask you, yes, inshallah. What I was gonna say to you is this. I don't know why I keep coming to you, brother. What I'm gonna say is this, yeah. If you read the Quran just like that, without reference to the Sunnah, to the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that word becomes open to interpretation. A man now, a husband, can decide, okay, well, so like a nice man like you will say, no, this means strike a parable, yeah? Strike a parable. But this guy, okay, maybe not you, right? or someone like me, or some bad guy, right? Who's got more aggressive tendencies. Let's look at that word, daraba. Same word that's used for striving. I'm going to do that on my wife. Now the thing is, what restricts that man? Nothing restricts that man as the Quran alone. Why? Because that man now has absolute ability and right to interpret and extrapolate from that verse whatever he wants.
No, does it?
You heard that, right?
Yeah.
You heard that. So he says, according to, if you just read the Quran, somebody who reads the Quran could sit down and understand from the Quran, from the language that it uses and the wording that it uses for these specific instances and instructions, a man could understand, I could strike my enemies in a violent way, and I could also do the same way of striking, for example, to my wife, right? Right,
Yeah.
David?
Yeah, absolutely.
What prevents him from doing that?
Nothing.
Not the Quran.
Yeah, not the Quran. So his point, I mean, so notice he's saying, hey, imagine a world where all you have is the Quran. All you've got is the Quran. You read the Quran from beginning to end. Then your wife disobeys you. Wait a minute. What's the Quran say to do when my wife's being arrogant or disobedient or rebellious? What do I do? According to the Quran. According to the Quran, you strike her. You strike her to make her, stop this horrible behavior and so on. And he's pointing out, hey, the word for strike there is the same thing that's used of enemies in battle that's talking about beheading them and slaughtering them. And so you would conclude, if you're a more aggressive type, he basically said, notice what he says, because this is very important. He says, hey, if you're a nice guy, you're going to interpret that in some nice fashion. Oh, it means strike a parable, or maybe strike a pose, something like that, strike, right? But not like physically attack her. And hijab saying, hey, I'm a more aggressive guy. I'm going to interpret it as slaughter. And so this is what you get if you just go with the Quran. You would conclude that it is halal to chop your wife's head off for disobeying you. And he's saying, therefore, we need to go outside of the Quran and find out that, you shouldn't be that harsh with your wife. So again, you have to go out to the Quran. You have to go outside of the Quran to find out that it's actually haram to chop your wife's head off for messing up your falafel or something. Hey, maybe we should just go ahead and there can't be too much more to the video. Maybe we should just finish the video and then pull up that hadith, which says what you can do in the hadith, which is
Let's finish it very quickly and then go.
Because Surah 30 verse 21, Allah says among his signs is that he created for you spouses, meaning wives.
Yeah, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً.
In order to have tranquility and contentment with each other.
Yeah, okay.
You couldn't get that with a 5-year-old. So he
I agree with that, by the way.
places in your heart love and care towards your spouses. In this, there are signs for
my goodness.
What's that got to do?
Hijab's making fun of hijab is making fun of this guy for attempting to show from the Quran that what he's saying is wrong, and it's amusing to hijab. He knows you can't defend that with the Quran.
Yeah, he knows the Quran just cannot be used in that way. Yeah.
That's fine, but what's that got to do with what I'm saying?
One word has many different meanings.
Yeah.
Why did the narrators who are swimming in hadith decide to take the interpretation of translation as to beat your wife?
They didn't. That's what I'm saying. That if we look at the Prophet's life, okay, do you agree with me? The Prophet never hit his wife.
Yes, of course.
How do you know that?
Because when I study the very
the Quran doesn't.
This is a very important question here.
Yeah, notice.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so notice, according to hijab, and again, there's disagreement in the hadith. We'll just say that, ladies and gentlemen, as to whether Muhammad hit his wife. You find passages where he did, and you find a hadith where that says he didn't. And so notice, you're going to interpret that based on how nice you are. But what hijab is saying is, how would you know that Muhammad never hit his wife? The Quran says he can. The Quran says he can hit his wife. In fact, if you're Quran only, Muhammad could chop his wife's heads off. How do you know he didn't? Obviously, you got to go outside the Quran. So this is a problem. How would you know what Muhammad did or did not do without other sources?
Yeah.
Tell you what he did with his wife. Okay, anyway, yeah, good, very good. But where? How do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know the Prophet never hit his wife?
Because when I studied the very book,
You know from the Sunnah.
No,
Habibi.
no.
I like this. Okay.
When I studied the very text that he delivered,
What else? Pedophilia. So if your Quran.
The guy's saying, I know that the Prophet Muhammad never hit his wife because when I study the text that he delivered, which is the Quran, I would understand that he would never do it. But
notice how he'd have to do it. He would have to say, okay, it says right here. He'd have to do what he's doing with 65:4, right? He'd have to do the same thing. Yes, it says in 434, I can strike them, but I'm going to go with some other verse and interpret it in some way that would rule out the violent interpretation based on my feelings. That's really what, and Hijab's pointing out how silly that is.
Yeah.
Alone, you're steered towards pedophilia, and a severe type of pedophilia.
A severe type of pedophilia. Whoa. Yeah,
let's
back
get
that
that
up. Yeah.
Let's get that phrase here.
Towards pedophilia, and a
back it up. He said, if your Quran.
Habibi. I like this. Okay.
when I studied the very text that he delivered,
What else? Pedophilia. So if you're Quran alone, you're steered towards pedophilia, and a severe type of pedophilia.
Severe type of pedophilia.
A wife abuse, a severe type of wife abuse. And in fact, let me tell you something else.
So if you go by the Quran alone, you steer toward a severe form of pedophilia and a severe form of wife abuse.
And this isn't us saying this, ladies and gentlemen. This is Muhammad Hijab saying, if you just go with Allah's perfect speech, keep in mind, Allah had all eternity to get his words, his book, his speech exactly the way he wanted it. If you just go with Allah's perfect speech, you would steer towards a severe type of pedophilia. You'd be a really and especially sick pedophile and a severe type of wife abuse, so much so that your wives are terrified you're going to chop their heads off. And Hijab is saying, if you just go with the Quran, that's what you would conclude. That's why you need to go outside the Quran and to other Muslim sources and other Muslim scholars and so on to find out that what is halal in the Quran is actually haram, and therefore worship all these other guys. This is nuts, man. This is nuts.
If you go by Muhammad Hijab's logic, if we bring the Quran to an untouched, uncontacted tribe, right, and give them the Quran, somehow make it available in their language,
they're dead.
We just leave the Quran there with them and say, follow this book, do whatever it says, and they then somehow end up doing all kinds of horrible things and marrying and having sexual intercourse with 3-year-olds, or chopping off the heads of their wives if they don't obey them, and so on. Then we can't really blame them, because we told them to read the Quran and to follow the Quran. And if you only follow the Quran, then you steer toward a severe form of pedophilia and toward a severe form of wife abuse, which would include brutally, beating, hurting, wounding, and killing her.
Mm-hmm.
That's the logic here. That's the logic.
He's correct. I mean, what are we going to say? Are we going to disagree with the mighty Muhammad Hijab? Of course not. Is that almost over? It seems like it's
almost over.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me be completely controversial.
Wait, that wasn't you being completely controversial. And now let me talk about something controversial.
Yeah, now let's deliver the final blow. This will be horrible. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Campbell. One more. I will tell you something.
You got to remember one thing. The mainstream Islam that is understood and interpreted by Muslims is translated using Sahih Bukhari hadith.
Okay.
So people study the Quran to support the narrative.
Okay.
In actual fact, they should study the Quran to
So Campbell, thank you for that discussion, for that point. It's a good point. Yeah. Maghrib. It's time to pray Maghrib. Now the question is this: do you want to join us? I'm gonna go pray Maghrib, Akhi. It's good talking to you, Akhi.
Yeah? I enjoy talking to you.
I'll talk to you later on, yeah?
Inshallah.
Hey,
that's it.
Hey, you know what's crazy? He was about to give a third point, and he said, and now he was going to get controversial. Did you catch that? And then someone told him, no, we got to go. Isn't that crazy? He was about to say something worse.
I wonder what that was going to be.
We should message him. Hey, what was your third point going to be? We really want to know.
Yeah, I messaged with him before. I messaged with him sometimes on Twitter. He reads my messages. Sometimes he responds. Lately, he doesn't respond anymore because I asked him how in the world are you defending Andrew Tate, and then he stopped responding. So
he probably stopped responding because he's too busy fanboying for Andrew Tate, right?
Probably
running interference.
Probably.
Oh yeah,
I should ask him. Oh, hey, can you tell me what that point was that you wanted to deliver?
What's that third point? Yeah, we do need to check out that hadith, because we've heard what you can do according to the Quran, according to Muhammad Hijab, but we need to understand what it's like if you actually do follow the hadith. What are the limitations from the hadith? And so we have you got Sahih al-Bukhari in there?
I do. Let me pull it up right now here. Yeah. All right, let's go over here. Sahih Bukhari. You mean the one with green clothes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it right here.
This is a gold mine right here.
So, according to this hadith, this report about Muhammad and his companions, it says, narrated by Ikrimah, Rifah divorced his wife, whereupon Abdurrahman bin Zubair al-Qurazi married her. Aisha said that the lady came wearing a green veil and complained to Aisha, of her husband, and showed her a green spot on her skin caused by beating. It was the habit of ladies to support each other. So when Allah's messenger, peace be upon him, came, Aisha said, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women.
Isn't that interesting? Aisha, the mother of the faithful, who learned Islam literally at the feet of Muhammad himself, said, after seeing the impact Islam was having on women, Aisha was around pagans, she was around Jewish women, she was around various types of women, and she could say, after seeing what Islam did, she could say that Muslim women were treated worse than pagan women.
Yeah. Let's repeat this. It was the habit of ladies to support each other. So when Allah's messenger came, Aisha said, I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing women. Look, her skin is greener than her clothes.
Yep.
Her skin is greener than her clothes.
Can you imagine that? Her skin was, she's got a green veil on, and Aisha says her skin's greener. Her skin's even greener.
Yeah. When Abdurrahman heard that his wife had gone to the Prophet, he came with his 2 sons from another wife. She said, by Allah, I have done no wrong to him, but he is impotent and is as useless to me as this, holding and showing the fringe of her garment.
So she's sitting there with, like, look, he's as useless to me as like this. This is him. This is my husband. Can't do anything with that.
Abdurrahman said, by Allah, O Allah's messenger, she has told a lie. I am very strong and can satisfy her, but she is disobedient and wants to go back to Rifah. Allah's messenger said to her, if that is your intention, then know that it is unlawful for you to remarry Rifah unless Abdurrahman has had sexual intercourse with you. So yeah, first he has to have sex with you, and then you can possibly.
I mean, by the way, notice how messed up this is, right? So if anyone's new to this, in Islam, if you divorce a man and then marry another guy, you can't go back to the former guy without having sex with the new guy first. But look at what she's saying. She's saying he's impotent. I can't have sex with him. I can't have sex with this guy who beats me until my skin turns green. And Muhammad says, well, if you really just want to go back to Rifah, then you can't, because you can't go back to Rifah unless you had sex with your new husband. And according to you, he's impotent. So too bad, you can't go back to Rifah. Just sit around getting beat by this guy who beats you until your skin turns green. Sorry. If you're serious about him being impotent, you're stuck. You can't go back to Rifah. Isn't that nuts?
Then the Prophet saw 2 boys with Abdurrahman and asked him, are these your sons? On that, Abdurrahman said, yes. The Prophet said, you claim what you claim, that he is impotent, but by Allah, these boys resemble him as a crow resembles a crow. So it's very interesting to just deconceptualize and to imagine the situation where a woman comes in complaining, very upset, scared, that her skin is bruised green. According to Aisha, Aisha is there when the woman comes in, when the woman complains that her husband is beating her. Aisha, who is the mother of the believers, the most trusted source of hadiths, the beloved child bride of Muhammad, says, I have not seen, says, oh Allah's messenger, I have not seen any woman who suffers more than the believing women. This woman is being beaten brutally. Her husband is beating the hell out of her. And Muhammad's response is, well, why? He says that you want to go back to your ex-wife. Well, you have to have sex with him. That's his response. That's Muhammad's response to the situation.
Brilliant stuff. So notice, why did we bring this up? Muhammad had no problem with this man beating his wife until her skin turned green. His concern was, well, who's right here? And he's siding with the man, saying, hey, you're saying he's impotent, but look, he's got sons from a different wife, and therefore you're wrong. Now, of course, this assumes that a person can't become impotent.
Yeah.
Like you can't go through life and then become impotent. But she's saying he's impotent. He's saying he's not. It's a disagreement. But Muhammad is, notice what Muhammad is saying, because this is evil, but brilliant. It's, hey, you're saying he's impotent. If you stick with that claim, then you can't go back to your previous husband, because you can't have sex with this guy, which means you can't go back to your previous husband. So if you're telling the truth, too bad, get used to a beating. But if you're wrong, if you're lying and he's telling the truth and he's not impotent, then you deserve to be beaten. Like, what are you complaining about? You're talking trash about your husband, talking about him being impotent. You're walking around saying he's impotent. How dare you? No wonder he's beating you. No wonder he's beating you until your skin turns green.
Yeah.
And so either way, man, this sucks for this woman.
Yeah.
That's
I wonder why he needs to be potent to get over with the sexual interaction. I mean, different groups around the world have found different solutions to that, like the Mormons. Anyway, so we wanted to talk about different hadiths as well related to this issue. Like here, we have, I believe you wanted to talk about the one where the shoving takes place, and the translation.
Well,
is
the only point there is they're changing the translations.
Yeah. So here in this hadith, it used to say that Muhammad went outside and Aisha was inside. Aisha went outside looking for him and was then out of breath. He saw her. He came back home, said, "You were the black shape I saw in front of me." I said, yes. She said, he gave me a shove in the chest that hurt me. This used to say,
he hit me in my chest, which caused me pain. Yeah, he struck me in the chest, which caused me pain.
Yeah, but this translation has been changed here into shove on this website, which is very, very interesting.
Yeah, gave me a shove in the chest. But notice he still hurt her, right? So whatever the shove was, I mean, keep in mind, if you just go like that, that's not going to hurt someone, right? So you have to kind of, I mean, you're doing at least that in your wife. So I don't know. I consider that a hit if you're actually hurting her with it.
Yeah.
But notice, but the point here is, so anyway, the point here was, hijab was just taking it as granted that Muhammad never hit his wives. You do have some reason to think that he hit his wife, and keep in mind, according to the Quran, he would certainly be justified in hitting his wives, because the Quran definitely allows that. And so,
well, you know what I find very funny? One very interesting thing to add here is, so we're talking about wife beating, but here is a hadith that I have on my mind that is very interesting, where according to this hadith, Muhammad, is married to these different women, Aisha and Hafsa, for example. Aisha is the daughter of Abu Bakr. Hafsa is the daughter of Omar, and in this hadith, they have a problem with the Prophet. And in this hadith, Abu Bakr gets up. It says Abu Bakr then got up and went to Aisha and slapped her on the neck. And Omar stood up before Hafsa and slapped her, saying, "You ask Allah's messenger of something which he does not possess." So here in a situation, you see that the that the fathers here actually go to them and hit them.
Yeah, these are, keep in mind, these are Muhammad's wives being slapped around by other companions of Muhammad. They're being, which is weird. I mean, my wife's got a dad, nice guy. I cannot imagine sitting there while he slaps around my wife. I can't imagine.
So the holy Prophet Muhammad,
dad slapping her around in front of me.
Yeah. The Prophet Muhammad, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, is married to these women, among others, and their dads just come here and they slap them, they beat them, and say, "How dare you ask him things that he doesn't want to do, or that he doesn't possess?" So we're talking about wife beating, and here we have an obvious case of their fathers as authorities coming and beating them as they are already married to this guy. Why would it be so strange to imagine that people would beat their wives?
Yeah. So anyway, point is, everyone's slapping around Muhammad's wives.
Yeah. Stop beating Muhammad's wives.
Pretty bad stuff.
Pretty bad stuff. Stop beating up Muhammad's wives.
All right.
So yeah.
So now we know. Now we know like what you can. Now we know what you could do. Like if you had a. What? What are you laughing at?
Go ahead.
So I mean, to keep in mind, because people need to know what hijab is saying right here. So imagine this is your wife, ladies and gentlemen. So imagine I'm a. So notice that there are two types of Muslims according to Muhammad hijab, right? There are the proper Muslims, the ones who understand that they have to interpret the claims of the Quran in light of the hadith. And so hijab interprets the hadith as saying, if this is my wife, I would have to wait till she's 9. I have to wait until she's 9 to have sex with her. If I were Quran only, I would read Surah 65 verse 4 and say, hey, I can marry this girl as a 5-year-old, right? This could be a 5-year-old. You're talking pre-K, right? You're not even kindergarten, right? Pre-K 5, right? That's before kindergarten. So this is pre-K 5, or that could be the beginning of kindergarten. But this is a pre-K girl that you can actually marry. And so he's saying that's bad enough, thinking that you could marry this little girl. Oh, look, I want to go play in the sandbox. No, you're going to marry me. No, I'm going to play on my swing. No, you're getting married and I'm taking you back to my house because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says I can have sex with you. You're 5, right? Go ahead. And so hijab is drawing a distinction between Muslims who would only marry this girl once she's 9, and the Quran only Muslims who would have no problem marrying a 5-year-old. But then, in addition to that, we never got the final point, but he was making another horrifying point that what if this girl's disobedient? What if it's going to be different situations? Because on the one hand, it's going to be a 9-year-old who's disobedient. And if you're Quran only, it could be a 5-year-old girl. So she goes off to pre-K 5. She goes off to pre-K 5 or to kindergarten and disobeys you. And now I have to implement Surah 4 verse 34 on you. How dare you? How dare you not wear a proper hijab when you're going to pre-K? How dare you? Right? And so what hijab is pointing out is that if you're an Orthodox Muslim and you believe in the hadith, one, she's going to be 9. So she's going to be in like 3rd grade. It's going to be a 3rd grader. And then when you say, what could I do to her? You have to go with what you find in the hadith that you're allowed to do. So you're allowed to beat her until her skin turns green. You're allowed to slap. We see Abu Bakr and Umar and so on slapping them around and stuff. So you be able to, shut up. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you not wear that? How dare you? Right. But it's going to be stuff like that, right? You're not doing like, you're not like chopping her head off or anything. You're just, how dare you disobey me? How dare you? You said, what about Top G? You said you don't like Top G. You say you don't like Andrew Tate. How dare you? Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. How dare you? Shut up. Don't you ever say anything about Top G again. That's what you'd be like, right? And you could do this until her skin is no longer this light brown, it's actually green, right? You beat her until her skin turned green, totally fine, according to the hadith. So that's Orthodox Islam. You can beat her until her skin turns green. That's what hijab is defending. And there are Muslims who don't want to have to deal with hadiths about a woman being beaten until her skin turned green and, you know, Muhammad having sex with a 9-year-old girl. So they say, keep us away from those books. We'll just go with the Quran. That'll save us from embarrassment. And hijab says, no, that is not what happens, because if you just go with the Quran, now instead of being 9, she's 5. She is pre-K. She is pre-K, or she's beginning of kindergarten. But now you're dealing with a 5-year-old. So what do you do with the 5-year-old? Well, let's suppose she made fun of you. She went to her little kindergarten and she said, my husband is impotent. He's as useless to me. He's as useless to me as this sock, right? And so you say, okay, now I warned you for that, right? And then she goes to kindergarten again, or pre-K, whatever she's going to, and she comes back and she's not wearing her hijab properly. So now I have to escalate, right? I have to escalate. So I say, you dirty little whore, you get into a separate bed. No, you get into your crib. You get into your crib, and the other, no sleeping in my bed. You go back to your crib. You go back to your crib where you belong. And so she goes off to her crib and so on. But then she keeps going to pre-K or kindergarten and causing trouble. And then that's when she does it. She's talking to her little friends, and she says, I think Andrew Tate is a bad influence on Muslim men, because now they think they can just go around beating us until we become their webcam girls. And then she comes home. And notice, now you're already on stage 3. You're already on stage 3. He already warned her. He already warned her for saying he's impotent. Then he banished her to a separate bed for not wearing her hijab properly. And then on top of all that, he dishonored and disgraced Top G. Now, what do you do? Not according to me. Not according to me. You're Quran-only Muslim. What do you do as a Quran-only Muslim? Not according to me. Not according to AP. According to Muhammad hijab. What do you do? He says, well, if you're an aggressive person like him, then you would conclude that strike includes up to and including chopping her head off the way you would do an enemy in battle. Right? So according to hijab, hey, 3 strikes and you're out. Look, this is your 3rd strike. How dare you? How dare you? You think I'm going to beat you? Wrong. So, what are you going to do here? You're going to, you get, nah, that's not.
But I want to quickly add, this is not what we are advocating. This is not what we are saying. This is how we are interpreting what Muhammad hijab says. And that's a problem.
Yeah, this is not us, ladies and gentlemen. We think, just to be clear, we think this is awful. We think this is bad. But this is what hijab is saying, that Quran-only Muslims can conclude is halal. So, you've got a matter of fact, that's a little too scary. Here we go. There's a hacksaw. How dare you? You think I'm going to give you a quick slice? Wrong. We're going to make this nice and slow with this hacksaw. Right? That's not good enough either. You got to do it D Wood style, man. You got to do it D Wood style. I'll show you what I'm messing with. How dare you? You think you can mess with me? You think you can dishonor me? How dare you think you can do that? I don't even know if I should do this on camera. How dare you think you can talk to me like that? Oh,
David, stop. Don't do it.
What do you mean?
Don't do it.
What do you mean? I've gone Quran only, man. What do you think I'm going to
do? Don't do it. This is too much. Don't do it.
No, hijab says this is what I have to do because I'm Quran only.
David, don't do it. David, no.
If I just believe in the Quran, Allah's perfect eternal speech, this is what I get. How dare you say that about Top G? I'll show you.
No, David.
How dare you? This is what you get. How dare you say that about me?
Oh my God.
Now your
Oh,
faces.
yeah.
Now your
Oh.
faces. I'll teach you a lesson.
Oh.
I'll teach you. You're gonna. Now you know. Now
Ladies,
you know.
ladies and gentlemen,
You know not to mess with the top G. Not to mess
We
with
have
the
to-
top G. Dare you? How dare you say that about him? How dare you? Hello, Akbar! Hello, Akbar! You see what you get? I'm gonna hang this up in the nursery school.
what is on your face?
It's bear blood.
And now all your other wives, all my other wives will know. And this will be a warning to all you other girls.
How is this real?
Top G! Top G!
What? What?
Right.
Oh,
Hang this up
boy.
right here. Now you know. Now you know.
Oh boy.
All
This,
right.
this will probably get taken down.
Hey, by the way, you know what's funny?
Wait, what in the world just happened?
Hey, you know what's funny? Like, we've got all these guys praying that like we die and we get diseases. You remember that? They were like Ali Dawa was calling for Muslims to pray for us to die and get sick and stuff. But like,
yeah.
I mean, I've got my tools sitting around. Like I always tie up the safeties. There's a safety on here. I've got it tied off, so there's not the safety. But I mean, all the stupid stuff I do with it. Like, I really like feel like I could like sort of shave gently with this. But anyway.
Wait, David, what is on your face? Seriously, what's on your face?
It's bear blood. Oh no, I didn't accidentally kill myself. I got some fake blood.
What did you put on your face?
Oh, wait. Hey, here you go. Ready?
What?
Here we go. Listen. Where's David Wood and the apostate prophet when I've been attacked? Oh, let me tell you what happened, ladies and gentlemen. I was driving my car down the street, and then an Islamophobe came up to me. And he said, I know you from your brilliant Dawa videos, and you're converting too many people. And so, look at what he did to me. He stabbed me. And where are David Wood and the apostate prophet? Will the Islamophobia never end? But just keep in mind, AP. It's good because we got the guy. We got him. The cops got him. Yes, I gave them the information and they got the video, and this guy's already in jail. He's already in jail. Andrew Tate saw him while he was locked up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, wonderful conclusion. Wow. This just happened.
The Islamophobes got me. And where is AP to condemn this?
Wow, man.
What a religion, man. These are the champions of Dawa. These are the champions of Dawa, man.
So what happened here tonight is a coming together of a real world and an unimaginable weird universe, which was introduced to us by a gentleman by the name of Mohammed Hijab. We are merely here to witness it come to life in the form of David Wood, who has some strange blood-like thing on his face.
It's fake blood. And this is like, notice it's more realistic than what we saw on Sheikh Uthman, right?
That's true.
This looks more like real blood than
That's
what was smeared on his thawb, I guess.
That is I don't know what to say. I'm totally I'm out of.
I'm looking at this like, man, I gotta.
Oh boy.
You see? You see what you get? You see what you get when you mess with the haq and the hikmah.
We've got the haq. We've got the haq and the hikmah. We've got the haq and the hikmah. This is what you get. This is what you get.
I wonder if Mohammed Hijab is watching this live again. And...
Don't mess with the haq and the hikmah.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. This happened. This is a perfect video, a perfect illustration of exactly what the Quran says, according to Mohammed Hijab. I think people should take this. And...
Yeah, notice apart from the minor reenactment where this is what he said, this is all what he was saying, right, ladies and gentlemen? What is that us saying that if you just read the Quran, you think you could do this to your what? That was Mohammed Hijab, one of the greatest da'is, if not the greatest da'i of our generation, saying this is what you get if you just read the Quran. And that's why you need him to interpret things for you. Wow.
Okay, I now need to make sure that this live stream will stay safe. And maybe I need to add I need to add some more warnings as to.
You could put a warning. You could put a warning in the title and in the description box. But there's nothing here that violates. I mean, this at the end of the day, this is us. This is us.
Content.
This is us. I mean, think. That was a hijab, a Muhammad hijab video. That's fine. We criticize it, and then we're the ones in danger, not the guy who's saying, you just read the Quran, you're thinking of marry a 5-year-old and chop her head off.
Omar Al-Qarni said, if you want him to see, actually invite him. I would love to invite Mohammed Hijab if he actually joined this this channel in a live stream. I don't think he would. I actually haven't done that before. We only challenged each other and then he backed out. Maybe I should invite him.
Just totally straightforward here. Mohammed Hijab, if you'd like to explain more about the problems of Quran-only Islam, you're welcome anytime to join us right here. Matter of fact, you just say what Quran-only Islam entails, I'll reenact it. I'll do the reenactments for you.
I bet he would love that. If you want to explain more about the dangers of reading the Quran, please join us and join us live so we can discuss and talk about it together. David, are you still in the mood to read a few super chats here?
Sure.
Unless you are going to go. I was scared for a second that you will that an accident is going to happen. You will, I don't know, get rid of your.
It could. I mean, I'm sitting there with this. I'm sitting there with this power saw, and like it kept the stuffing kept getting caught in it, and it kept jamming.
Oh,
so, could have taken some fingers off, but hey, these are the risks I take.
It would have been good for
videos.
It would have been good for the live stream. It would have been good for the views.
Muslims would have loved that.
Yeah.
Islamophobe loses 3 fingers in making fun of Muhammad.
Yeah. It would be a good stream. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
But I was saying,
worth it.
Yeah, it would be worth it. SGT485 says, where was Allah before the Korah? It seems that he doesn't make any effort to reach humanity. What is the Muslim explanation for this? Before the Quran, I bet you mean. What they say is that there was a period of uncertainty where people did not have a proper guidance. But what the Quran actually says is that the Jews and the Christians had their scripture, which they were just supposed to follow, and they were supposed to follow that scripture even after the Quran initially came to them. And that Arabs would be the last ones to receive a scripture from Allah in their own language, and the implications of Muhammad were that soon the end would come. So everybody received their scripture, don't worry. And lots of prophets, according to Muhammad, were sent. What are you doing? With the stare that you just gave. Lots of prophets were, like thousands of prophets were sent to all humanity long before, but somehow none of them left any trace. They all failed because they were all a bunch of losers with a terrible plan. But that is the interpretation here.
There's your thumbnail.
Wait. Let's do this solo layout here. Now do it again.
Oh, what's the thumbnail?
Okay. All right.
The real dangers of Quran-only Islam.
Introduced by Mohammed Hijab. Anton Gomez said, I heard Islam is superior to Christianity because the Quran says you have to be nice to parents. The 10 Commandments only say honor parents. Opinions?
Oh, yeah, because the 10 Commandments are the only thing in the Bible. Thank you. Bible stops there. 10 Commandments.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very, very weird way of defining superiority, but that's very strange. I don't know what else to say about it. Shakil, but I appreciate it. Shakil Zaman said, check out Mo Hijab's latest video on Hamza Yusuf. I think you're talking about Hamza.
I don't know what he said, but I would guess it's something negative, right? Like there's something wrong with Hamza Yusuf.
We're talking about his video about the Scotland First Minister Hamza Yusuf, right?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. That's not Hamza. Yeah, that's got a different spelling to it. That's that's that guy who what was he elected to?
He's
Prime
elected
Minister or something?
First Minister of Scotland, and now celebrated by many people as the first Muslim First Minister of Scotland. It's kind of equivalent to Prime Minister, I guess, in Scotland terms. But traditionalist Muslims like Mohammed Hijab have denounced the guy, and Mohammed Hijab made a video in which he explicitly said that that guy is not a Muslim. He has officially left Islam. He has left the folds of Islam because he's a kafir by changing the laws and the morals of humanity and denying that certain things are like LGBTQ are a sin. Because he said something like, when he was asked about it, he said that I think he said that there is nothing wrong with it, and he has his own personal beliefs which he doesn't want to mix into his politics. And as a result of that, Mohammed Hijab and many others have argued that saying that is an act of disbelief, which is why that guy is not a Muslim, and Muslims should denounce him and reject him and not celebrate him as a Muslim politician. And I, of course, immediately took the opportunity to celebrate this as the first ex-Muslim politician and ex-Muslim First Minister of Scotland.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So
did you make a video about that?
I will.
Oh, that is the first ex-Muslim leader. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is an ongoing problem, though. That it's like we point out all these problems with Islam, and then the response is, but look at all these peaceful, tolerant Muslims, not realizing that if Islam spreads to the point where these guys are totally outnumbered by people like Hijab, your peace and tolerance just went out the window. They'll treat you like a kafir and as an apostate.
Yep.
Right. So
yep. Your child is going to become an apostate.
Your child's going to become an apostate. Help me.
Where's Shaky Booty? I actually had a chat with Shaky Booty recently. He's planning on reacting to Andrew Tate. Should be here soon.
He's at a Dawa conference, I think.
Yeah, probably. Native Atheist said, hi, AP and Dave. Hello, thank you. Hello. Yeah, I need more atheists here who support this channel and donate, like, I don't know, $5,000 per super chat.
You can't. Atheists are stingy. They're all basically Scrooge.
To keep this channel up and big and stuff. Yeah. Emperor 2000 said super sticker. He sent a super sticker. I don't know what it looks like, but I bet it's very nice. It says good luck. Very nice. Thank you. Stop Scamming Man said Ibn Ishaq's 8th century bio of Muhammad says Aisha got criticized for how she positioned Muhammad when he died. Aisha said she was blameless on account of her extreme youth at the time.
Lies! She was 50. Since we could just make things up, according to many Muslims in the West, she was 50. She was an old lady.
Yeah. I did some recent things that I shared with the public, and I bet you saw it too. I think, you shared it, where I made an AI illustration of what Aisha may have looked like in real life, which I should also share as a video quite soon, just to give people the idea of Muhammad's marriage to a child and bringing the actual truth, the reality, closer to everybody. And next super chat says, by Mariana is a super sticker, which I do not see again, but it says something like behind the scenes.
People have already seen the super stickers.
I don't see them
as they were coming in.
Yeah. AF Iron said, it's not easy being green. Kermit, Bruce Banner, and Aisha. Is that a song from the...
That's a song.
It's not easy being green.
That is very dark. No, combined with...
Oh yeah, we got to do parody. We got to do parody songs
boy.
where it's Aisha. It's Aisha singing "It Ain't Easy Being Green" beside her Oh, we could do a musical like
That's
Muhammad. Oh,
dark.
a Life of Muhammad
That is
movie.
dark.
That's a musical.
Yeah. Yeah. Spawn said, David, when will you leave Christianity? You might as well be Muslim because Islam makes more sense because everything is magical in it. You want to end up like CP. What?
What the heck?
What?
What? Yeah. First, say something coherent, Spawn, and then tell me to
Wait,
leave
you
Christianity.
might as well be Muslim because Islam makes more sense because
Everything's
is
magical in it. It makes more sense because everything's magical. And
I don't
so,
understand.
do I want to? Yeah.
I don't
No,
understand.
no wonder this guy's an atheist. Completely incoherent thinking. Can't even spell. Typical atheist.
Atheists are actually the best spellers in the world.
They're the best of spellers.
Best of spellers, yeah. Apollo's Christian Apologetics said David about to slit the throat of the teddy bear. There was a
About
good
to.
prediction, but he did much worse.
Yeah. I chopped that thing's whole head off.
He did much worse. You know what's funny? I think last night I had a dream, and for some reason I saw David Wood in my dream, publishing a video where he reviews a video game, and a racing game, and comments on it like a dorky guy who has no idea about video games at all, and people were loving it, and at the same time you were playing some old music or something, and I thought, hey, that's a good idea. So and then I woke up and I thought, oh, that was just a dream, but that's actually a very good idea. So
Well, it's I mean, you got to be.
I wanted to pitch it to you.
You got to be careful with dreams. I mean, that's how Muhammad started off with Aisha. Remember? You know what's funny? AP is now dreaming about a long time ago. Me and Vocab were going to start a Prophet Muhammad gaming channel where it's going to be Muhammad playing video games, where you see Muhammad in the corner and he's playing video games.
Yeah, that'd be good.
He was going to be doing Minecraft and yeah. Anyway,
and build the Kaaba in Minecraft. Like Destiny. Super chats. Oh yeah, okay. Somebody here. Yeah. More super chats. The XXWLZXX said, "What is the future of Dawa? Dawa is dead, and Dawa is going to die." By that, I'm referring to not a person, for those who do not see the context here, but to Dawa as an activity of inviting people to Islam. It will, of course, naturally find its death and it will die. Yeah, that's my prediction as a prophet. What do you say, David?
Wrong. Top G is back. Top G is going to save Islam and do lots of dawah.
That's the funniest thing, right? Where you expect the Muslims to encourage each other to be a better example and make people like Islam in a better way. And as Jordan Peterson said, you present yourself in such an admirable way that people willingly come to your religion. And what do? Andrew Tate becomes a new face of Islam.
Now you'll never criticize us again because we got the tater.
Yeah. Common Sense said, have you heard Isis Baby by Ruka Ali?
No, that sounds funny though.
That's good. Yeah. Seed of Iblis said this video is sponsored by Build a Bear. And his promise said, my two favorite fellows, and I'm proud of that. Can you say that?
We're proud of that.
Wonderful. Logistically said, do you hate on Islam because it's the fastest growing religion in the world and you are scared of the day it will be number one? You speak with so much hate. It's sad. Thank you for $5.
Thank you for the super chat. We'll
thank
use
you
it
for
for
super
our
chat.
awesome work.
Yes. And to answer your question, do you hate on Islam because it's the fast growing religion? Yes. Obviously. Why else would anybody hate on Islam?
The thing is, you can actually look into the reasons that Islam is growing. And then you start getting into why people hate it so much, because it's not the fastest growing because of conversions or something like that. It's because of birth rates in Muslim. So as far as the global numbers increasing, the dominant factor is birth rates because of the impact that Islam has on women, right? It's hey, we're going to marry you when you're 10 or 11 and turn you into a baby making machine. And by the time, girls in the West will be finishing school and college, the Muslim girl has 5 or 6 kids already. And then so the numbers explode. So that's why Islam's growing as far as its global numbers. Why Islam is growing in the West is because Islam does a really terrible job at making countries where anyone wants to live. So Muslims want to leave their Muslim countries as far, get as far away from them as they can, as fast as they can. So they come to the West. So Islam's growing rapidly. Why? Islam makes places that no one wants to live in, and Islam treats women like there's nothing more than baby making machines. And so now you're getting into some of the reasons why we have a problem with Islam. But there's like a million more.
Yeah, I made several videos. I think I made 2 videos about that specific question about whether Islam is the fastest growing religion or not. One of those videos I think was called "The Fastest Breeding Religion," and I used credible sources, including from the researchers that initially proposed the idea that Islam is the fastest growing religion, and related researchers which show that Islam is not the fastest growing religion because of, or is not growing this rapidly because of conversion. It is growing because of birth rates and young age. And they even included certain studies which show that if families in a certain country, a Muslim family and a Christian family in a certain country and environment, if they live on the same street, the average Muslim family will have more children, a significantly higher number of children than the Christian family, even in much less developed countries, because it is something within Islam and within the Islamic culture and teaching that simply reduces women to that role and doesn't give them any other way to thrive. They're just baby making machines, and Islam constantly praises this idea of populating and becoming crowded. And Muhammad, according to the hadith, says, I will be happy and proud of the size, the number of my ummah, of my community.
Yeah.
So,
I know I had a friend from this was years ago, but he was from Lebanon, and very recently Lebanon was a majority Christian country.
mhm.
And now it's Muslim majority. And I was like, hey, what happened there? He goes, Christians were focused on having a couple of kids and making sure their kids got good educations and good jobs and had good careers and stuff like that. And he says Muslims were just having babies. And then that's how you take over an entire country. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. And I talked about other things before, like I don't know. I lived in Turkey. I have been to some other Muslim countries. The culture. The culture of you know the ideas that people have about living in their own countries versus living in non-Islamic countries. I mean, I can just give an example of Turkey, which is not even as backward and underdeveloped and unbearable as many other Muslim countries. And in Turkey, I'm not exaggerating. If you went to a town square in the average Turkish city and said, I have free passports, free visas to Europe, grab this and you can travel to Europe and you can live there, there would be a stampede. People would trample each other to get a visa, to get a permission to leave that country and to go to Europe, because people love it. People love the West. People want to come to the West because their own countries are not very bearable, are not very good, not very fruitful. That's why there are so many people who flock to the West.
Nabil told me, this is when he was still a Muslim. He took a trip to Pakistan, and he told me when he got back, he said people were offering to buy his passport from him. But he said they were offering like tens of thousands of American dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Just give your passport, then you'll go to the embassy and say you lost your passport and stuff like that. But after we've already used your passport and stuff. And it's
Yeah. That is it. Some people are asking what is with David Wood's face.
You're gonna have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to go back and watch it. David did some terrible things to his face. Have you heard of this and this? Almost died. Oh, here. Christian Apollos said, almost died from 2000 and died from 2019 stroke, and wanted my last moments to see David eat Surah Al-Fatiha next time on real deathbed. This moment will be it instead. Oh, okay. Yeah, almost died died from a stroke in 2019, and wanted my last moments to see David eat. Okay, yeah. Next wish, the next time in your deathbed could be this. That's good. That's solid.
Mhm.
That's solid. Where's your Bugatti boy? I don't know why I marked this comment. Love.
They've already given you the correct pronunciation. It's Bugatti.
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 Oh, David. I'm saying David. Andrew Tate was released from detention, which, however, does not mean, contrary to what some people think, because they don't even follow the news properly surrounding their heroes, which does not mean that the case against him has been dropped. It just means that his location changed. He's no longer in detention in a cell. He's now under house arrest, and everything else, the investigation still continues against him by the Department of Terrorism and Organized Crime. And it continues that long because they are probably preparing a huge case against Andrew Tate and collecting as much evidence as possible, for which he was initially brought into detention so that they could raid and collect everything possible before it could be removed, to then gather enough evidence. So
yeah, and guys, because there's lots of misinformation about how everything works and so on, the idea is, here I don't know how things work in every other country. In the United States, they have to tell you what your charges are pretty darn quickly, right? You don't just lock someone up and then spend months and stuff like that. And so it is a kind of weird system they have, that they can just lock you up while they're still investigating and keep you locked up without even saying, without even listing your charges. They can just keep you locked up. They have to renew it every 30 days. But their justification was, in Tate's case, this is a guy who in his videos brags about having multiple passports for other countries. He brags about how he's able to bribe anyone who, is going to come after him and so on. So they reasoned, okay, if we're investigating this guy, we need to keep him from running with one of his passports. We can't just tell him we're charging him and let him be, let him stay at home or something like that, because this guy could get out. And therefore, we're going to keep him locked up. And eventually, after a couple months, it went up for appeal. And then it was, hey, if you haven't charged him after these couple months, then let him go on house arrest, and you could just keep an eye on the house and make sure he doesn't bolt out of there. But you can't just keep this guy locked up forever without charging him. Let him be on house arrest until you charge him, and then deal with it.
Yeah, the funny thing is, this is how the law works in Romania. I'm pretty sure it is a case where, due to the nature of the charges, it is an extraordinary situation where he's investigated for organized crime, which is more serious than just an irregular crime, which is why they can, hold him for such an extended period of time while investigating everything that they seize, all his belongings. And what's funny about this is, he shouldn't be complaining about Romanian law. Nobody should be complaining, because it was he himself who specifically, explicitly said that he went to Romania because the law is different there, because he can get away with things, and he likes to have power, and likes to make use of corruption. He himself chose Romania specifically because of its its laws. So he shouldn't be complaining about how things work there. Right?
And now, I mean, basically, Andrew by now has an idea of what they've got on him and what they're coming at him for. So if he knows he's going to get locked up for 5 or 10 years or more for what he's done, he's going to try and get out of that house and get to Dubai or something like that. You can watch. It's basically, if he thinks he's going to beat it and be able to bribe his way out or intimidate the witnesses out of into recanting or something like that, then he might stay there. But if he knows he's going to get some time, he's probably going to bolt. Where he'll be the hero of Islam wherever he goes.
Of course, he's setting up the narrative here and saying they have nothing on me. I'm totally innocent. They are persecuting me. He's turning himself into a hero here. He probably knows very well what they have.
The Matrix.
Yeah, he probably knows very well what they have on him, and lots of the stuff that they have on him is already public knowledge.
Yeah, and it was so stupid, right? Like, he knew they were coming after him. He knew they were investigating him. He knew that police were looking at it. I mean, one of his webcam girls, who's one of the enforcers, was a a former police officer who still had connections. He knew they were coming for him. So he knew it, and that's when he's like, guys, you know what the Matrix is going to do? It considers me such a threat for my empowering message to young men that they're going to come along and they're going to throw me in jail on trumped up charges. You watch. He knows he's about to be arrested, so he's saying it. And then
they were probably preparing the case anyway, and they would have probably never allowed him to leave the country even prior to that.
And then I got to see from 10,000 of his fans, oh my goodness, Andrew Tate said this would happen. Yeah, anyone who knows they're about to be charged because they're being investigated and because they know what they've done and they know who's testifying against them can say, oh, they're about to come get me on trumped up charges.
Yeah.
And people, oh wow, he must be a prophet.
Yeah, just like Muhammad. That's how Muhammad made his prophecies. That's how Muhammad did his stuff. Yeah. People will do this. Look, it happened. How did he know it? But anyway, I'm very excited to see everything that will result and everything that will be brought against him in terms of actual charges soon. But just from the fact that he was detained without charges for so long while we got news of all his belongings and his work stuff and everything was seized, you can probably assume that they weren't just sitting there and thinking, let's just let this guy sit in here and not do anything. They were probably, and they probably still are, preparing a very huge case of organized crime against him.
Yeah, and it's a situation where they know, hey, the people who testify against him are webcam girls. It's going to be easy for the defense attorneys to point at them and saying, they're just angry at him for, because they got old and stuff like that. And now they're angry that they're not, and that's why they're coming after him, or he did this or something like that. And that's why they're lying. So it's a situation they know the defense is going to just try to discredit all the witnesses. And so they're probably making sure their case is as airtight as possible before going after him. With that said, if he actually hasn't done what he's being accused of and the things he said in his videos, my goodness, it's going to be awesome if he walks, because again, if he's done the stuff, you gotta face the music. If he actually hasn't done this stuff, this would be one of the greatest days in the history of Dawah. If he is released and released from house arrest and gets to be the new champion of Islam, this dude will be more powerful, more epic than Hijab and Ali Dawah and Sheikh Uthman and Hakikashu and all these guys combined. This will be the golden age of making fun of Islam. You watch.
But the funny thing is, if it turns out that he actually didn't do the things that he himself said he did do on camera, then and if he never walks, it will also turn out that he was just talking a bunch of nonsense and depicting himself in a very childish way as a tough top G, while not doing anything serious at all.
Yeah, that's by the way, that's his defense in court. It's, hey, all the stuff I said in those videos, that's just me playing a character to dupe morons. Right, that's his defense in court. His defense in court is, all my fans are idiots who send me money because they think I'm doing all this stuff that I'm not actually doing. I'm sitting there minding my own business.
Well, they are idiots. I mean, they are idiots.
That's true.
That's true, because the guy said very openly before, he openly, very clearly said to his audience and to others that his business, which made him rich and successful, consisted of luring these girls into becoming his porn actresses, and then talking to desperate, lonely men online and duping them and scamming them. Basically, he takes over, he chats with the guys, pretends to be the girls, sends them supposedly special messages just for them, which he also sends to everybody else, and tells them sob stories and basically scams them. It's a complete scam. That's what he says, literally. It's a complete scam. Then he goes out and is like, hey guys, by the way, I scammed all these people, such idiots, such morons. And by the way, if you want to learn how to be as successful and rich as me, sign up to my course, pay $50 a month, and you can be just as great as me. And people without a second thought are like, wow, yeah, amazing. Here are my $50. Take it. Take my $50. Teach me your ways. The guy who just told to you explicitly that his greatest achievement is scamming people.
And then, hey guys, I need a backup plan because the law's coming after me. I need to be able to run to another country. And alhamdulillah, I'm a Muslim now. I'm taking this super serious.
Wow. The guy has a pure heart. Now he's a Muslim.
It's awesome. This is awesome.
And of course, he's an honest man. What else could you expect? Anyway, WX said Islamic birth rates are rapidly declining, and some sources say apostasy is also increasing too. Worldwide Christianity is rapidly growing, especially Africa. Yeah, I would contest some of the numbers and statistics given here, but I would say it is generally known that progress decreases birth rates, and according to the research, Muslim societies are no exception to that.
Yeah, as places modernize, then birth rates decline.
Yeah,
because all of a sudden families have more opportunities to send their kids to school and things like that, and so they don't end up having 15 kids. They end up having 2 or 3 kids.
Yeah. It's called family planning becomes a thing when societies modernize, which means people start making reasonable decisions on how many children to have and how to allocate their resources. And
the numbers that Muslims are pointing out, right? This didn't come from us. This comes from Muslims pointing out that about a quarter, and this was a few years ago, maybe more now, but about a quarter of young Muslims are leaving Islam.
Yep.
And so, and keep in mind that that's increasing. So there comes a point where the increase in the number of Muslims due to birth rates will eventually be canceled out by the number of Muslims leaving it, and that's when you're going to see even more panic from the Da'is. Andrew Tate, I don't think he's going to save you.
He is not. I also there's this guy. I quickly just want to show a bit of this guy. He made an interesting appeal.
There's no audio, man.
Oh, come on, man.
What's wrong with you? You just ruined it.
I ruined the
Have you ever not ruined one of your own live streams?
No.
There we go.
Assalamu alaikum. My heart is breaking. Oh, brothers and sisters, my soul is aching. Brothers and sisters, did you know that so many people are leaving Islam every day? Why would anybody leave such a beautiful religion? Why would they choose to become a sick disbeliever instead? A'udhu billah. Brothers and sisters, 100,000 Muslims are leaving Islam every single year.
Over 100,000 Muslims leave Islam every single year.
I'm telling you, this is serious stuff. This is not a joke.
This is not a joke, brothers and sisters.
Yes, we say that there are 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, and Islam is growing day by day. But the standard narrative
has holes.
And we are not proud of that.
And we're not proud of that.
Apostates are everywhere. They are among us. There are even people who memorize the Quran.
There are copies of the Quran.
The youth are full of doubts.
Our youth are full of doubts.
And we tell them, doubts? What doubts, man?
Doubts? What doubts, man?
Have some guts, be a man.
Have some guts, be a man.
But nobody is answering their questions.
And nobody's answering their questions.
We tell them to stop questioning and to stop being emotional, and we tell them to be a Chad.
Be a Chad, you can do it, I believe in you.
But instead, they choose to be bad.
We've seen this happen, unfortunately. We've seen this happen to a lot of people.
If it continues like this, your child is going to become an apostate.
Your child is going to become an apostate.
Imagine your child, the child that you are raising could end up with the disbelievers, with the kuffar, and go to hellfire.
Hellfire will want to swallow them.
Hellfire will roast them.
Roast them.
Toast them.
Toast them.
Break them.
Break them.
Shake them.
Shake them.
Hellfire will annihilate them.
Will annihilate them.
And the rest of us will be watching.
We'll be watching.
Brothers and sisters, we must act now. We must do something about this. And what you can do is to donate to our channel so that we can do something.
May Allah keep us firm. Never let us go astray. May Allah keep our children firm.
If we don't take constructive steps now, this is going to become an avalanche.
It is going to become an avalanche.
A tsunami.
A tsunami.
The apostates, they are everywhere. They don't make it public. They hide it. They are leading prayers.
They are leading prayers, the Muslims.
They are still living the life of a religious Muslim.
and they are still leading that life while simultaneously declaring their apostasy.
Brothers and sisters, if you feel as strongly about this as I do, then please donate to us and our cause. You can make a one-time donation or a monthly donation. Please be generous. Please give whatever you can so that we can take the responsibility and, alhamdulillah, spread apostasy. Donate now. Help now. You may even receive many gifts in heaven, in paradise, in Jannah. You can get a house next to me or next to some other very good looking man. You have an opportunity right now. On this haram new year, you can do something halal and donate your money to us. So what are you waiting for? Donate now. Leave it to Sheikh Aboudi. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yep.
That was powerful.
That was very powerful.
That was powerful.
I wanted to share this just to
But
I didn't think I would show the whole thing. I just wanted to,
no, you should play that. You should play that. You should play that every show. By the way, we always point out that Ali Dawah can never state something accurately. Everything has to be twisted. But like he couldn't even get that correct, right? It was 100,000 Muslims a year are leaving Islam. That was actually a Pew Research study in the United States.
Oh yeah,
100,000 Muslims leaving Islam every year in the United States. That's not. You're not even talking about the rest of the world. So it's actually significantly worse. So everyone, you definitely want to support Sheikh Aboudi because it's worse than the Da'is let on.
Absolutely. This was a very powerful message from Sheikh Aboudi, who is the best Islamic scholar out there, hands down.
And when you combine those things, once we saw the powerful message about Quran only Islam from Muhammad hijab, and how you need to go to the hadith to find out, you just beat your wife until her skin turns green. You don't chop her head off. No. So anyway, the point is we've got this powerful message about Islam and what it really teaches. And now you have this appeal from Sheikh Aboudi. But
yeah. Fantastic. So donate to Sheikh Aboudi, which you can find down in the description, to save apostasy. Paganless said he's under house arrest awaiting his trial. Exactly, that's what we said. Thank you. Leon said, "What is a sneako? The Tate wannabe?" Oh yeah, that's
some other YouTuber
guy who was banned from YouTube, who is now a neo-Nazi and who is kind of the Walmart brand Andrew Tate, the great value Andrew Tate. Yeah. Stefan Milievich said, "Hey David, do you remind me of my neighbor from Romania? I'm going to eat garlic to protect myself. Stay away from Islam." Yeah, he's trying to say that David looks like a vampire.
Dracula.
Dracula. Yeah. Which is actually based on a real guy who was a pretty ruthless dude and who put a bunch of Ottoman soldiers on sticks and hung their heads on walls and stuff like that.
He did this. You want to see? You want to see? Ha ha!
Yeah. Harman said, "Love you guys from India. A big salute to your bravery. I understand the frustration of David. Even we are tired of dying from last 800 years. Thank you. I appreciate it very much."
I'm not frustrated though.
David is not frustrated, and he doesn't appreciate it either. So
I just play someone who's frustrated in this live stream.
Yep. That's true. All right. With that said, I would like to thank everybody for joining this live stream, and I would say I'll see you again next time. Are we doing a live stream tomorrow? We didn't really talk about it.
Yes, we will on my channel. We will figure it out. As of right now, I am going to click over while they're still live over on Reasoned Answers. So I'm going to jump over on Reasoned Answers. That's a bunch of Christians having discussions with people who call in, so we don't have to have all this atheist nonsense that we get when we're on AP's channel.
It's boring stuff. For those who haven't noticed, we are doing this thing now where we go live every Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday nights, we go live on my channel where we talk about actually relevant, reasonable, good knowledge stuff. On Sundays, we go live on David Wood's channel where we talk about more boring stuff like faith, religion, universe. I don't know. But this is what we are doing. We're plugging those things together, and we have been doing this almost consistently, and we will keep doing this. And you can join us tomorrow on David Wood's channel, and next week we will be here again one more time. With that said, is there anything else that you want to add, that you want to get off your chest, David?
Nope. Just check out Reasoned Answers. That's where I will be. I'll probably go wash this. I was thinking I'd just click on it, but I'll probably wash the blood off real quick. But yeah, it should be over there in three or four minutes.
Just join with the blood on your face.
No, I'm gonna have to answer all kinds of questions and stuff.
Johnny said, "AP debate Mohammed Hijab." Have you not seen the history of us? I have published a video about this called "The End of Mohammed Hijab," in which I explicitly explained that he himself offered the debate to me, then backed out of it with different excuses. I'm still waiting. I don't know. Sarah Michael Ashraf, I quickly want to read this. AP, any news on the epilepsy video Brother Rashid collab with David? I was in contact with him. I am going to make a video about Mohammed's mental health quite soon. It's going to come soon. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic day. Don't do what David did. Don't do this at home. Have mercy. Be reasonable. Don't do that. And as we leave, I want to leave you alone with one more final message, and that is,
stay away from Quran only Islam.
Yes, and
stay away from Islam.